Well, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to our broadcast for tonight. It's the PlayStation Tournament's NA Invitational. We've got a good one on our hands tonight. My name is Reese Hambrick, joined here by Jonathan Seach. We're looking forward to seeing if our legacy team here, the Dynasty at Bing Bong, is going to continue, or if maybe we've got some new challengers on the field.
Yeah, there is always potential for an upset. We just saw that earlier today for the EU series where Lick Effect ended up beating their European opponents of Auslander just hours ago. But I guess we'll get you up to pace, see what the format has been like over the past couple of matches so far. It'll be a similar format if you're used to our other Open Series tournaments and our European games as well. It's the same as all of that. Single elimination bracket. The top four will be the ones covered in our broadcast. All semifinal matches will be best of ones, and the finals will end out in a best of three game. And the game mode that will have everything in play, is still TDM Bomb in a 5 versus 5.
Yep, and so the way that the matches do play out, of course, it's a little bit shorter than normal. This is something we've been consistently going over. Instead of your normal 6 rounds and a half, and then you play 6 more rounds, or maybe you don't, we've only got 3 round halves here. It's the first to get 4 round victories. Unless neither team can reach 4, then we would trigger a best of 3 rounds overtime. So a little bit shorter, a little bit more fast paced, and so far had a big theme in terms of momentum here.
Yeah, I remember having pretty much complete attacker favoritism back in our EU matches today, where we saw little to no defensive wins, except for on the map of Border in our best of 3 matchup. So really trying to set the tone early is going to be the name of the game for any team competing in these Open Series matches. And I feel like that goes without saying for ranked as well, funny enough. So I guess it makes total sense. You play a similar game mode when you're going into these tournaments. You need to keep the same mindset.
A little bit more than ELO on the line here. We've got a massive prize being dished out, of course, across the different placements. If you win it, you take it all, you're getting $1,000. And boy, Team Bing Bong have been amassing a small fortune through our PlayStation tournament so far. I mean, counting at least got to be $3,000-$4,000 in prizing that they themselves have racked up. The second place, of course, 500, and third or fourth, 200. All teams today are in the money.
Yeah, eventually with all the money and trophies they're going to be earning from these events, they might just need to buy a whole new trophy case. We always keep making that joke, but they have been so successful in the NA division. I think it just goes without saying at this point. We've been talking about Bing Bong for such a long time during this run. I'm sure we might as well discuss the other 3 teams that have made it into this top 4 division as well. We'll take a look at the rest of the bracket and see exactly what we've got up for you in these next couple of moments. The Courageous, a team that I'm not quite familiar with, a newcomer, I suppose, to the Open tournament, at least top 4 wise. They're going up against the Titans of Bing Bong. And then across the pond, you've got Prime, which is someone I'm quite familiar with. I remember casting them all the way back in the September Open Series with Ollie. They're up against Fortnite Jam Jams, which are also a bit of a newer group going into this invitation.
And the way that things have worked out for a lot of our tournaments so far is usually we have Bing Bong in the 1 seed, Prime in the 2 seed, and so they will play a 3 and 4 seeded opponent, and then usually the progression that we almost always have is they meet up in the finals. However, today I think that might be threatened. The Fortnite Jam Jams have got a player, Lockdown Nick, who's been active in the scene since year 3 and is somebody that I know for a fact has got some talent behind him. So if Lockdown Nick has assembled a squad that's going to be able to match his abilities, that Prime game, it might not be a guarantee for the Mexican squad to make it through there. However, for the Bing Bong Courageous game, that's going to be a tough challenge as well. Haven't heard of any of the players on the Courageous side in my experience.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that Prime and Fortnite matchup for sure. But the first best of one we will be covering is the Courageous versus Bing Bong, and we'll take a look at their rosters in just a few short moments, of course. But at least for Bing Bong, you and I, Reese, are incredibly familiar with them. Again, they've been pretty much a dynasty here for the NA circuit, and they have just refused to slow down in tempo. I believe one of their main 5, though, isn't actually playing today, unfortunately. I think you know a little bit more about that with you being more familiar with the PlayStation scene.
Right. So one of their usual suspects, kind of the ringleader, as I like to describe him, Cheese Pie 37, is somewhere else tonight. So he has been replaced by a new player that I haven't heard of called Ecstasis, who also goes by an alias of a glue bottle. So, not sure what really to make of that here, but I don't expect that he would get onto this one for free. This is a roster comprised of really the best talent that you've got on the PlayStation side. Of course, Devious Ollie, Slump, Bowie, and Yatesy Boy. We mentioned this when we casted them last time. Yatesy Boy always smoked my pack back in the day when I played in these tournaments in the Go For era. He is really someone who's got a lot of good fundamentals. Bowie is probably the most winningest player on this Bing Bong roster. He's probably got somewhere 40, 50 tournament wins across all the competitions that's been hosted. Devious Ollie and Slump, players who are a little bit newer but have a tremendous amount of skill outright.
I would say for Devious Ollie, I think he's most known for playing smoke and just being the most nightmarish person to go up against when he's got that SMG-11 shotgun combination in hand. Not only that with smoke, but also playing mute from time to time as well. Definitely someone you cannot sleep on in the hard support department, but we've talked enough about Bing Bong. Let's go and move on over into Courageous as well to see who they've got for their main 5 roster. They've got Clint, Voids Nova, Temp, OZPD, and Elososis, which is, or Solstice, pardon, I mispronounced that. It's by far one of the most creative names I've ever seen. That is a hilarious name if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, we do appreciate the Elo references, and to have a player that has the name Temp dash a bunch of numbers usually means that their username they had previously was not up to some kind of rules of the PlayStation ecosystem. So I suppose we're gonna have to find some sort of a nickname for that player. Believe me, you always know when you see somebody with Temp in their name and then the 6 digits of numbers, you know that they did something naughty. They put something they weren't allowed to in their gamer tag, and so it ends up like that.
Oh, it's like a template. I get it now. That makes total sense. Well, it's got a bit of a ring to it. You know, it's kind of like that player who had just numbers as his name. I always enjoyed getting ready for the NA bracket matches just to see his name pop up on the roster graphic and just seeing 100 different numbers and trying to figure out how are we going to pronounce this name. This just, I don't know. This like trash.
You're gonna have to call him by the operator practically,
or just call them numbers. That's what I would have to use as a cop out. We could talk about the map really for a sec while we get a couple more players in lobby. I believe for the best of 1 series, we're heading into Skyscraper, which is I'd say it used to be uncharted waters, pardon, for the comp scene, but it's been receiving a little more love, especially since it's played a lot more in comp. So now players get a better understanding of how they can elevate their gameplay when going onto a map like Skyscraper. They don't just have context of getting it in a ranked match and just kind of going with pocket strats just in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, I feel like when you're going to look at Skyscraper, we're not going to get a ton of strats. It's really going to be closer to a ranked match just because, you know, if you're a player who's been around for a while and you're on a comp roster, maybe one that doesn't, you know, go out there and scrim, there's no coach involved, so you don't have this, you know, huge Bible full of strats. On a map like Sky that's not been in the pool very long, that's a little bit different compared to something like Clubhouse or Oregon, where if you're a pro player, not a pro player, but, you know, a console comp enjoyer, and you watch Pro League, you're going to understand, you know, what happens on Clubhouse, what happens on Oregon. This needs to be reinforced. You got to have this operator, you got to have that. Skyscraper, you're probably not going to get that. It's probably going to be kind of a muddying of the waters, and Bing Bong, I think, are just going to play this kind of run and gun. That's what I would expect here. So for the Courageous, they need to lean into that. They are on the defense first, which I think is a big advantage to them. I'd like to see a lot of trap operators. I'd like to just see weird things. Just try to get up there, get in the face of their opponent, and come at this because you're an unknown quantity. If you're the Courageous side, you know, maybe you look at the previous tournaments. Maybe you see something from the number of times we've had Bing Bong on the stream. There's a lot of footage to go back there.
I'd have to say for Bing Bong as well, although they're a very well-known team at this point inside of PlayStation, they also can stoop down to that level and still be very, very aggressive and just in your face as a team. They don't need to always take things in a step-by-step process. They can just hunt for an opening pick and then just kind of go from there. So bringing Courageous to Skyscraper, it's definitely not a bad option, but also having Courageous kind of allow this map to be put out and play in a best of 1, since you have so many maps at your disposal, it definitely sets a little bit of a tone that at least Courageous are not going to be walking in blind. But again, they've got one of the toughest competitions that this invitational can bring, which is Bing Bong, a team that just simply refuses to lose ever. I mean, going back to Prime, they've been one of the teams that is closest to defeating Bing Bong. And even that matchup that I recall vividly, the best of five, when we were still doing best of fives back in the September Open series, they only got one map on them. And that was a bit of overconfidence portrayed by Bing Bong when they were going by the name Glue Glue Glue, if I recall.
I think another big part of this as well to think about is it's a best of one, which is totally different, of course, from the best of three finals. When you're playing a best of one and you have the ranked rule set, it's not impossible to just show up to a match and complete 4 rounds of just being really weird and obnoxious
Yep.
and knock your opponent out and then, move from the $200 prize up to potentially shooting for 500 or 1,000 if you win it all. So I don't want to construe this idea that Bing Bong are invincible because I've seen a lot of these console comp matches. You can't predict them. You don't want to say one thing is going to happen when you know on the day a player might just turn up the heat.
In terms of operator bans, we saw pretty much everything that could be considered a potential ban for all three maps we had in that best of three between Auslander and Lekavek. Do you think we're going to see some wild operator bans with a skyscraper, or do you think we'll try to see something a little more default?
Well, you've sort of activated my memory. I have a feeling, haven't Bing Bong like banned the same two operators every time? Don't they always ban like
Yes.
Nook and Capcan or some? Who's the attacker? Come on, bail me out. Who
They
is
ban
it?
a lot of, I think one of the teams in NA bans a lot of Montaigne. Was it Bing Bong? I don't recall. It actually might have been Prime. There was someone very specific who is religious about wanting to ban the Montaigne, but I know that you have a lot of the same bans for every team. It's just kind of what they feel like on the day, and Bing Bong has kind of the same mentality when going into a lot of matches.
Cheating right now. I'm looking at the VOD to see if it is indeed if there is any pattern to be found. And
He's getting some notes out.
so far, I think the answer at least is looking like no, they have not done the same thing every time. No, I don't see it. I don't see that pattern. I saw Ace and Thunderbird, which is kind of a
Oh, that's
weird
right. The Thunderbird bans. We saw a lot of
combination. Yeah,
Thunderbirds
that's
today.
that's what they banned every single time. All their matches, at least when
Yeah.
we were back in November 3 months ago in the
Mhm.
NA Invitational, they banned those two operators every single map, the whole event.
Yeah, now I remember because usually just in general for console play, we see a lot of Thunderbird being banned, and when she is available, she's brought out almost every single round, which makes sense. She's pretty good at restoring players back up in HP. If you're not going to be able to hit those headshots and eliminate a roamer, if you fall back and get healed up, that's a chance at another clean 50-50 gunfight, best case scenario. So having Thunderbird available is not a bad idea whatsoever. So seeing her banned because of that high pick percentage, it makes total sense. It's kind of like Finka back when she was very much meta. She still played a little bit in console too, fun enough, which you would think with all the new recoil changes and LMG nerfs, it'd be even more dangerous to do or bring out those kind of operators, pardon, on console. But I guess it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, the recoil was really hit hardest on the PC side. For console, it's still really workable. I mean, we had a Finka player earlier that was using that LMG that was racking up quad kills
That was
multiple
Medi.
times over. Yeah, Medi it was. And, it can be different when you're on the console environment. The Thunderbird is also a big crutch operator just because of her gun having the spear.
Yeah,
It
true.
got a bit of a nasty kick in one of the patches about 3 or 4 months ago, but I still see plenty of players using it at any opportunity. I'd like to interject though, between the previous event that we had, which was 3 months ago, and now, Doc has been buffed. He has 3 shots that boost you up to 150 HP. So that's, more than you would get with the Kona stations. You could argue if you average it out, blah, blah, blah. But it's a straight shot. You don't have to sit there and wait for the Kona to reactivate. You just tell the Doc to pull the stim pistol out and juice you up, and all of a sudden you're back. Not to mention that, but also he's got the MP5 with the 1.5.
There
So
you go.
it's a gun that is just devious on the server.
I'd have to agree. Also, you get the bailiff, so you can make a couple of
Yeah, good point.
rotations. So you can be a lot more mobile on dock than what you used to be, he's not in a bad place. Also, bulletproof camera, some more info. And the way I see it with Thunderbird is you want to bundle up a lot of those Kona stations so you're healing someone up to full health if they're on the lower side, like 20 or 10 HP, give or take. So it's kind of the same thing as just having a single dock stim. And you're going to probably use the Kona on about one or two people top. Same thing kind of applies for a dock stim. So they're about equal, I'd say, in terms of how much you're going to use that primary gadget. So more or less, it comes down to personal preference. Do you prefer roaming in the early round? Do you prefer spawn peeking? Do you like to anchor in the late round? Do you like having the option of making rotates for your teammates or having some sort of cheeky angle for the late round? Or do you like having a C4? That's what it really comes down to nowadays, and that is one of the more enjoyable things about Siege is you can have so much variety just over the little things.
Yeah, and just before we head to a break, I want to interject here to finish this up. I think the big difference between, of course, having the Thunderbird Kona stations and the dock is Thunderbird, you place it, you set it, and you forget it. With the dock, he's carrying that
Exactly.
thing around. So if you're trying to use the you're trying to use the MP5, and you're trying to go crazy and gun people down, you die, the gadget's over. But with that being said, we're having some difficulties, so we're going to jump over to a break. When we come back, we've got Skyscraper just ahead.
Hope you didn't miss us because we are back with coverage on the Bing Bong versus Courageous Best of One series heading to Skyscraper just shortly. If you need a quick little refresher, my name is Fellow, joined here by Sticula once again, where we've got high expectations for Bing Bong, but can we say the same for the underdogs of the Courageous?
Well, it was nice to have a little bit of a break because we got to step over into Twitch chat and talk to some of the members of the Courageous roster and get some burning questions answered. Of course, before we went to the break, we mentioned there's a player that had the name Temp and then a bunch of numbers. In this game, we have figured out his name. We have the answer to the formula. His name is Husky. So if you're confused, if you see a player that looks like Temp dash 19967 8675309. It's not, that's not his name. That's not what we're calling him. We're calling him Husky. So we're really excited to get into this one. Of course, it's on Skyscraper, which is always an interesting map. We mentioned the connotations coming into this one that it could be a little bit one-sided. So with that being said, again, filling you in, ranked rules. First to 4 round wins. Halves are split 3 apiece. It's Bing Bong to start off on the offense in this best of 1.
Wow, this is one of the first times I've ever written out Thatcher completely as a name. I always write Thatch from operator bands. Just whole new me apparently today, but at least the bands look somewhat normal for this best of 1 matchup on Skyscraper. The Jackal as well, roaming is quite frequent on Skyscraper, so not too surprised to see him removed as well. Following up with the Cade, he's also played a whole lot, especially on the office bomb site, and on the rare occasion if you're playing underneath for that barbecue and kitchen defensive hold. Wrapping us out for this best of 1 series, we've got the Capcan, which we kind of expected for a Bing Bong matchup, but they're not the ones to remove him, funny enough.
So interesting that it'll be Courageous who do eliminate that operator. It's not one in a console environment, really, that I would like to leave available. Something that causes problems, makes you lose health. We actually saw in the 6th Invitational that was, of course, playing out today, a Capcan trap caused a major malfunction in the Astralis versus BDS game. BDS were 4 versus 1 and about to put the bomb down when all of a sudden a Capcan trap brought it 1 versus 3, and that last defender just got a lucky string of picks together to ultimately get to the planters, stop that defuse, and take the round. It was a massive performance, and it shows you the Capcan traps, John, can get even a pro player at the biggest event in Rainbow Six Siege.
I think there was a graph for at least Frost mats because we saw Frost so much in play at the very beginning of the 6th Invitational, and the bar basically goes in the formation of a U with how often Frost mats will work and capture or at least injure somebody when they're playing in a game of R6. They work at the lowest level of play and highest level of play the best. So it only makes sense to have operators like Capcan be kind of a target man when you're in this higher level of competition. For console, as you don't want to be focusing on looking for tiny traps across the map, you want to be gun up to look for someone to try to kill and get that man advantage and get map control.
And Capcan has got a decent weapon as well. Packs the 9x9 VSN, mid recoil, mid damage, decent fire rate, very controllable, and the fact that it's got the 1.5x optic makes it a real threat in kind of bridging the gap from the mid to long range fight where generally the offense is always going to be having the advantage. So bringing that, of course, is very valuable. Frost, as far as I'm aware, didn't she get her 1.5 taken?
I think it's still there. It was removed at one point, but I did play Frost recently, and I can confirm that she did have a 1.5, so I believe it's there. But still, the point stands. 1.5, very good optic, and now it's been a favorite for most. Even if you can run the ACOG, it's just you get into so many mid-range engagements that the 1.5 is quite literally the perfect optic for that. It's the best of both worlds, really.
Alrighty, well, getting into this one, we'll have to see how things do play out and what the result is going to be. We're headed first, of course, to the 2nd floor. We try to look on to an overtake so far from the Bing Bong offense.
Ooh, unfortunately, Husky seems to be caught at the worst time. Opening kill going the way of Bing Bong as you've got the Ash of Ecstasy getting a little bit aggressive. Seems for this T attack, you've got Bing Bong doing a bit of a geisha over clear, but not completely forgetting about that pressure they can begin to build up from over by Dragon and Drum Room. So if they can coordinate this all in one timely manner, you could maybe see a full T execute with several different crossfires stacked up to basically just make a kill box against any defender who's by T.
All right, the wall popped on open. You got your entry point. You've got your opportunity to move forward. Have a little bit of a swing back in towards Drum. It's Voids with the leadoff kill. Bowie on the response, and Yatesy able to drain his target down. Only 2 members remaining, and it'll drop to just 1. It's only Clint now, but team damage there by Slump wasn't ready for the adjustment. Last player, Bandit. Who knows where he is? He's over by Geisha in the current. Meanwhile, he's able to pick off 1 target. Buck will be here for the swing, but Clint has got it going on. There's going to be a rotate down towards the back stairs, and Slump is able to put away the final target.
Well, starting things out quite strong here for Bing Bong, able to once again coordinate that attack from both Drum and the main area of Geisha in a pretty decent manner, and getting enough control by T-Room to try to get that diffuser down and force Clint to make a really heroic move, or at least a valiant attempt at it, over by Geisha. When you've got all these big openings to deal with, you have to walk into a cutoff angle that Bing Bong is now holding in a soon-to-be post-line position. It was just too much to ask for one lone defender. Bing Bong already starting out with a round win on their attacking half, and it seems like Karaoke will be revised, hopefully, by the Courageous, but their lineup looks almost the exact same. So it definitely seems a bit concerning going into round number 2 unless they change something up quite huge or quite big for their at least general play style.
That first round does go on by, and Bing Bong have put it together. Courageous, a decent job. They were able to kind of rebut it a little bit. I'd like to see Clint a little bit more kind of successful in the early game. You know, it's all good and well to get some picks at the end, but ultimately those kills, they were impactless. If he starts off the round with a double kill, these, you know, the things take a totally different turn. So that's always something to worry about there. We'll have to see if it does end up being something that continues to haunt him and cause problems for the rest of the game.
Interested to see if the Courageous could be able to bring out a little more utility over by Geisha just to prolong that breach from being opened up. That would definitely slow things down across the entire clear by Bing Bong, as they had a lot going on that one specific spot of the map to make sure everything else went according to plan. If there's someone still playing in Geisha Room, they can easily thwart someone hopping in from Drum Room, and if there's someone by that wave staircase or just in that general vicinity too. So they really have to rely on trying to push out this player by Geisha as quickly as possible and hoping to find some sort of opening pick along the way as well. Maybe having Bowie just sitting over by this Karaoke window could maybe catch someone off guard as they're forced to retreat from Geisha once that wall gets opened up.
Bowie just waiting on the angle. Nobody to expose themselves. So they'll tear open the barricade and toss in a drone. See what Bowie can ascertain. Still just continues from the rappel. Got a grenade readied up. Nobody on the highlight though, and so it will pop up, but no damage dealt. Maybe thinking about a second one in towards the window. There's a target, and it'll be Bowie who gets eliminated. Elo Solstice fighting back with the SMG-11.
Good opening pick now. Can be a little more aggressive from Karaoke heading back into Geisha, utilizing those toxic waves a bit more proactively. And now someone else might need to take that position over near the Karaoke window. But for now, seems like Bing Bong are still mostly concerned with that Dragon side. On the map, as C4 gets tossed out, beautifully placed by Husky to now keep up a stiff man advantage against Bing Bong.
Absolutely holding the tide here. One back, and a great bit of game sense there by Bowie. He's able to eliminate OZPD, who tried to creep back in. Another target gives away their location. A little bit of an extension played and cleared here inside of Dragon. Not the Buck to continue clearing this out. He'll make the call to rotate as things rest in a 3-on-3 with 1:05.
And still loads of time to gather info. 5 drones available on the board here for Bing Bong. And once again, you look at that utility. There's a significant lack of it here for Courageous. And now they just lost a very valuable player of that Warden who could have been huge just to have another gun up, some sort of crossfire. Now it's a very limited position here for Bing Bong. No Toxic Babes and only 1 C4.
Ooh, there we go. Bing Bong finishing it out so far. A measured approach. Nothing too erratic. And the bandit just caught looking.
Hello.
Sitting inside that little connector room there. 2 in a row now. Courageous, lacking a little bit of explosivity. They haven't had the punch. Need to be a little bit more scrappy when we kick off this round. Bing Bong have not got a player. Bowie seems to have disappeared. So we'll see what happens. I know we have the precedent of the 4 versus 5. If that'll happen here, I don't know. But if Bowie can't reconnect, there could be problems.
Say, although we've seen 4 versus 5s one before against Bing Bong, seeing them in a 4v5, I think that's uncharted waters for them. Usually you can remember their full rigid 5 roster, but it looks like this time they're gonna potentially commit to this man disadvantage. Their lineup still doesn't seem impossible to have only 4 players. You could run maybe pocket EMPs on the Nook to subsidize the fact that you don't have another player on your team. And now they've got Bowie on vertical to maybe help deal with the bandit trick over by the triple wall and also the single one too. That can also be accomplished with grenades, but Bowie's back. Maybe in the nick of time. I'm not quite sure, but at least he'll be back for round number 4. I always forget if they allow you to play with attacker repick. I don't think they have ever made that an option, sadly. That would be a cool concept.
So it'll just be Bowie on cam duties, and it'll be Bing Bong to see if the possibility of a 3-round flawless half is going to be in the cards here so far. Their guns have been absolutely roaring to life. Slump so far, 5-0. He's been undefeated, unchallenged. Bowie does have 1 death. On the Courageous side, it's been kind of all quiet. Little 2-piece by Clint in the first round, but nothing really successful. Not a great amount of team play. I like the fact that they're at least setting this up in the right way, though. They've got an extension. They've got a strat. It looks like down on paper, different pieces of utility dedicated here or there.
A couple of nades being thrown out towards the bomb site. No info to actually combine these nades with, so it's going to be a couple of duds here for Bowie. 2 nades completely off the board now for Bing Bong, but luckily they've got 4 more left in their pocket to maybe use during the mid-round to still get that ball rolling, as they are in that man disadvantage with unfortunate disconnect of Bowie just a few moments ago. Once again, Slump is on the Nook, just currently lurking around in that first floor, spots at a camera, destroys it, and now could begin to either work their way up the wave staircase to go for an engagement on the top floor, or just get a little bit closer to that bomb site to prep a couple of more grenades, similar to what the Sledge did a moment ago.
Wall pop, an opportunity to get in. You have 1 playing mini. Sledge dealing a bit of damage, a bit of rebuttal out towards that mini area. The wall close is soft, though. This is what you would expect. Courageous, not giving away anything early. That's what they need to focus on here. Convert on the advantages. They can't do it. Exodus able to step in. He gets 1, a grenade. There's another player in reception, but Elo Solstice will hold back, but he's again pushed over. Yatesy Boy taking to the advantage there, and only 1 player left in mini with an MPX and no utility. This is pretty much a grave right now. They're trying to close the distance, but he's out of ammo and executed by Yatesy Boy. Bing Bong, 3 in a row, looking like exactly what the forecast for this game had predicted.
And I mean, they just played into their strengths. They were hoping that the element of surprise could be enough. Nobody was expecting someone to just dry run into the breach the second it got opened up. That allows Ecstasy to get a free kill on the person who's still over inside of offices. While that's going on, you've got chaos erupting from the bottom floor, those grenades being tossed out left and right by Slump. That nets a kill, and all of a sudden, you get that 5-4 main advantage with total site control completely gone. It's been flipped on its head. Now you're in a completely even 3 versus 3 with Bing Bong just knocking on your door, kicking the door down at this point, looking to get in. And eventually they do exactly that. They steal the man advantage and take the round as well on top of it. Now they've got series point. Or, well, technically, yeah, it is actually series point. I forgot for a second that we're not in best of 3s. I was getting my finals mind already in the going for Bing Bong. So used to seeing them in the finals. But nope, it is map and series point for them in this best of 1 against the Courageous, where Thunderbird is finally in play. I was going to make a comment about that back in round number 2, but I guess I can reveal it in this round. On top of that, they also have a dock, funny enough, really doubling down on the health concept.
Guess when one's not enough, bring two and just have the ability to heal your teammates later on in the round. We'll have to see if Bing Bong are racing to go. I love the play last round by Extasis, just opening the breach. There was no control, nobody fighting back. The shotgun player on that elevated angle inside Exhibition was still prepping it after the wall had been opened up. That's really bizarre for that to have happened. And because of the fact that he was with the shotgun, he wasn't gun up, he wasn't ready for somebody to just walk in. And, you know, maybe that's a problem for the defensive vision. Maybe they should have had a bulletproof. Maybe they should have had this. Maybe they should have had a Banshee. They didn't, and they lost it. So now they're going to have to pull off 3 attacks, which really seems entirely unrealistic against Bing Bong, who I think have just got a real roaming mindset.
The idea to roam and just get in the faces of the courageous, it definitely seems it seems like a blunt comp to do exactly that. You've got Solus for drone denial. That's fantastic. So now it's going to be a lot more dry peaks and uncertainty for the courageous throughout the whole round if Slump can do his job as Solus. And like I mentioned earlier, if you just get tagged up a little bit by an attacker and you don't die, you can just heal yourself back up at a Kona station or a dock stim. And speaking of that aggression, it's already out in the first 50 seconds of the round. Slump with a run out collects 2 separate attackers and downs OZ. Another run out confirmed by the Legion, and he scores 2 separate gunfight wins, leaving just Void Nova stuck on the rappel in a 1v5 with little to no hope left of stopping Bing Bong from taking the map and the series.
This is exactly what I was worried about.
It's just
waiting down on the spell. Here we go. This could be an easy double kill.
Kill him.
That almost bounced back down. I don't know what this nade is doing. Void's Nova is just, he really doesn't have much point left for him. Slump with a big triple play on that round. Maybe even call it a quad kill. He got the down, and it was confirmed by his teammate as well. Bing Bong in no more than expectation. Put this one away. 4-0, not allowing any space for their opponent.
And it's kind of what we expected. You know, Bing Bong, they have really set a precedent that they are the top dog team in North America. And when you're going to a map like Skyscraper, that is not in play all too frequently. You're going to expect that kind of play where you are just going to get aggressive. You're going to look for ways to find some sort of kill quite easily. And we saw that on several different mannerisms for the offensive side and defensive side of Bing Bong. You had a more methodical approach on round number 1 where you're just slowly trapping in the defenders where they're just stuck in the bomb set of T room, and eventually you force a post plant in a 2 versus 1, which is something you almost always want to strive for as an attacking team. The next round following up, you're at a bit of a disadvantage, but you still find a way to get the opening during the mid to late round with the help of that Nook, which is someone who is very dominant on a map like Skyscraper. Lurking up any of those staircases can find you a lot of damage. Round 3, you're at a 5v4 off the rip. You just barge into the bomb site. You say, screw the info, let's just hit him where it hurts most and just see what happens from there. It gets the job done. And then round 4, you keep that same momentum and just try to go for runouts, catch your opponents off guard, that element of surprise. It's all that Bing Bong really needs. And that's the adaptability that really makes this team so good in North America.
Slump was just a beast out on the server. 10 kills, 0 deaths, showing that he is still in absolutely perfect form. A player who really gives it his all. Slump also plays on the other console as well, and I've seen that he does very well for himself over there, constantly picking up tournament victories, and it's no shocker that his team soars to a 4-0 victory here in the inaugural round, of course, of our NA Invitational. Really setting the precedent for what to expect tonight. We, of course, have our other match that we have coming up, which will be a real exciting one. I think that one will be a little bit closer. It's the Fortnite Jam Jams versus Prime. So be sure to be on the lookout for that one. With it being said, though, we, of course, want to let you know about how you can get in on the action. Visit compete.playstation.com for a special opportunity to get in on Rainbow Six Siege and more. We've got a lot of different games, so visit the link shown there on your screen and you can view our dashboard of a lot of different titles. We've got fighting games, we've got battle royales, we've got sports games I've seen recently, Madden. So we have really a lot of different titles that you can go after, and whichever one you think you're best at, maybe an opportunity for you to be featured here on stream or compete for glory. So with that being said, compete.playstation.com is the place to be.
And not only that, you can also join our community Discord too to get a little more involved, not just using compete.playstation.com. By joining the PlayStation Tournaments community Discord, you can find regular updates on esports events like we discussed earlier for our several different games, articles, videos, and you could also meet other players that are interested in the same games that you are to just find more stacks. Maybe your rank stack could be the team to finally shut down Bing Bong, but you can only find that out if you join the Discord link, and maybe also join compete.playstation.com too while you're at it.
We'll give you a special side objective as well. If you do join the PlayStation Tournaments Discord, head over to the general channel and go ahead and tag me at Sticula in chat, and I will say hello. So we definitely wish you all welcome to join into that channel. With that being said, we've got our second best of one coming up right after the break.
Hopefully, matchup number 2 will be just a little bit longer for our own entertainment here, as after a quick 4-0 stop, we get to take a look at our second best-of-1 semifinals matchup between Fortnite Jam Jams versus Prime. My name is Fel, joined here by Stigula once again, where we get to go over yet another best-of-1 for our PlayStation Invitational.
It's going to be an exciting one, of course, boding to be a little bit more competitive, so we're really excited to see how that does play out. A 4-0 was definitely something to witness there in the previous match. However, maybe things are going to be a little bit different. We've had Prime really a consistent roster in all of our events so far, but it's the newcomer Fortnite Jam Jams, really quite a name. So we're going to have to see how this one does play out. They've got Lockdown Nick, who I would really describe as kind of the biggest name on this roster. Somebody that's been in the scene for Rainbow Six since year 3 and really successful as a player. So I'm expecting him to have built a great squad. They've got Seeker, they've got A View to Kill, they've got JKM, as well as Your Clear. So I think a team that really is going to be exciting to watch on the server for the first time here at the NA Invitational.
And having Prime, the second runners up, always second to the finish line. We've seen them make it the full distance on several different occasions, and maybe this could be the one where we finally see it happen. You've got Maza, Furzy, Babe, Hifok, and Jariel as well. I think names we've all come to know and love at this point, and it's just always good to see them still at their full 5. This roster has not changed for quite some time.
Yep, it's been kind of an expected result, I think, for Prime to have a close bout. I've been looking for one so far. Hifok and Maza are two players who really, I think, stand at the top of the line of this squad. Incredibly skilled between those two, but they've just had some difficulty getting in front of their opponents. So the stage is set, and really I think I'm looking forward to this game because I want to get to know Fortnite Jam Jams, and I want to see if they're going to be a squad that we can count on as a regular shower here in our NA Invitational for the PlayStation Tournament.
Starting on our best of 1 series, heading into the map of Oregon as well. Kind of a favorite at this point, I say, for Prime. I've seen them play on this map on several occasions. No matter what team it is they're going up against, they always are down to play in Oregon. Can't really blame them. It's a staple map pick in any competitive environment, even going down to rank. So it makes total sense. You starting out with the operator bands of the Thatcher, that is also pretty clear cut for a map such as Oregon, and a Jackal. So far, things have kept the exact same here as we saw back in Skyscraper Stick.
On to Oregon. See how this one does pan out. Defenders removed is, of course, Mira. The second here could be a variety of things. Could be, I don't know, a Zami. It could be Cade. If you got a Thatcher ban, it'd be kind of frustrating to have to bring Maverick every single time. But it'll end up being the Malusia. I like that, of course. Fortnite Jam Jams are going to begin on the offense, so that means they're not going to have as many Banshees in their way. They won't have any in their way, which means you can kind of get in the site a little bit more decisively. So Prime will have to see if that's going to be a problem. Of course, with those two defenders being removed there, Capcan is allowed through, which could be a major source of frustration.
Wouldn't be shocked if we see him in play at least a little bit, not for maybe this matchup, but even going further into the best of 3 if he remains up on the board. Smoke being interlocked by Maza, and we get to see that frequent pick of the Thunderbird. Babe on the Ella, I think, is probably the most interesting pick out of them all, those particular. With that extended barrel buff, she's gotten a lot stronger, at least from what we're more comfortable with discussing. But unfortunately for Babe, he's not rocking it. He's got the Scorpion, so we're not going to see the buff shotgun just yet, despite it being so good with that extended barrel. That, what is it, 15% damage increase on every weapon? That thing really does pack a punch.
I'm going to be honest, I thought you were talking about the extended barrel for the Scorpion, and I was going to call you insane for adding more recoil already to a gun that really kicked. That would be sort of like strapping a rocket to a bicycle, in a way of speaking. That one gets across, but anyway, illustrates my point nonetheless. We will have the Maverick in place, so I'm expecting a split take to come forward. Dokubi and Lion, as well as an IQ, kind of a more unorthodox operator lineup, skipping out on some of the primary soft destruction elements. You've only got one. Actually, no, you don't have just one. You've got two deployables. So you've got only. Is there two Gon 6s? I mean, maybe. I don't know. There's no easy way to figure that one out. A little spawn peek attempt coming from the master bedroom. You know, but just to finish off that point, two Gon 6s for two shields and nothing else.
Seems to be a dangerous game. Well-placed ADS can maybe catch that Gon 6, and you're just kind of out of luck when it comes to that destruction. But speaking of destruction, your ace, the first one to die before a wall can even get opened up, that is definitely a huge concern for Jam Jams, as Seeker will be the first one off the board. Luckily, with the back wall being soft, it's going to be little to no trouble for the Maverick to just get the job done, get a bit of info going down, and another avenue of approach into this round. But still, Prime taking things off quite strong with that opening pick and slowing down a lot of that aggression leading from the Master side.
Don't ask me why they didn't reinforce the attic wall, because they have 6 reinforcements remaining. Maybe Prime is not exactly dialed in as they begin this one, forgetting some of the reinforcements that needed to go down here, but perhaps it won't really matter in the end. They've got the main wall reinforced, and they haven't been able to get it open yet, so that's not a lot to worry about defensively here as well. Leading off, of course, the opening kill, and not much progress being made by Fortnite Jam Jams in the meanwhile.
Knowing that no one's over by pick could maybe allow someone to get into attic essentially for free, and yeah, that's exactly what happens. JKM will try to barge in, but Pitfok is waiting there with the SMG-11. Will snipe him down. Now another kill collected here for Prime. About a minute to go, and really no entryway has been found for Jam Jam. Sure, they could try to walk back into attic, but they're going to just be met by another crossfire with no one playing over by trophy room, so their best bet might be to go for a white stairs and big window play.
Perhaps that will be the rotation. It's at least prepped by Nick. Gonna maybe use the EE1D to kind of hold off, and oof, attempted swing there by Furzy. Still probably not enough to bring this one back within the realm of possibility, but that will certainly help to get that train rolling. Can still work up main here, and there's another defender. It's a direct trade between those two, and Pitfok, absolutely elite with his swing inside of attic. Steps out, drops the target, and Prime open up the scoreboard.
Unfortunately, losing out on your primary hard breacher, that was a huge concern for the offensive side of the Jam Jams. Not being able to get that master wall opened up, it made sure Prime were fairly comfortable in the bomb site in any given direction. Sure, you've got the addict window, you've got big window to be concerned about, even kids window, but there are just so many positions where you can set up and ignore those angles, especially with the main wall not even opened up by the offense, that it kind of negates all that pressure the offense can make when they're in the outside portion of the building. So for Prime, able to just set up quite comfortably, not have to really worry about any vertical being dealt underneath them from that first floor, it made it a pretty straightforward defensive round win. Now getting to go to Laundry and Supply with a very anchor-focused composition. Jam Jams, they're going to have to really step up their game and make sure they have enough tools to break down that utility and hopefully not lose their hard breach off the rip, as I don't think they have multiple hard breaches for this round either. Just Seeker once again, but this time on the Habana.
I'm hoping that was just sort of a fluke round to start this one off from Fortnite Jam Jams, and that maybe they'll correct those errors. Of course, you know, you've got the Operator 6-pick to use. You might as well utilize it. Go down to basement. You see we've got Echo, 2 deployables. We've got a zombie. We've got 1 burn. Maybe just say there's no mute in this composition. Let's bring up Flores. Let's put lots of pressure early and just sort of invest in kind of a construction option. Get rid of that pressure and then just flash dump, overwhelm, maybe bring somebody like a Ying, a Buck on a basement attack. That just doesn't make any sense.
It makes a little bit if you're expecting your opponents to heavily roam on the top floor, because then you get vertical down and also secondary hard breach charges. So it alleviates some of that pressure that's left on just Seeker. But knowing if your opponents are going to be roaming or not, I think that's the bigger concern that we have for the emphasis on the Buck. There is no one roaming, at least heavily. There might be someone by freezer stairs to play a bit. Actually might have lied. For some odd reason, Pitfok is actually on the top floor by Big Tower. that's besides the point. There's only one roamer, and they're on a fall-off point. They're not even playing here to essentially die. So without a lot of roamers to really, force the hand of a vert player, it just seems like a small waste when you could have brought maybe extra nades, for example. A Nook could have been helpful, maybe having some sort of other nade like an Iana. It goes a much longer way, especially in the late round where the secondary hard breach charges and the skeleton keys doesn't do much.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit unconvinced. If I was facing an extension, I would say the Buck's not a terrible idea, but a one-man roam, limited option, probably not going to need the Buck. I suppose it's helpful to have the hatch opened up, but really, there's a lot of other different ways that you can do that. Got one playing top freeze. He's looking for an aggressive movement, maybe expecting somebody to open it. It's going to be a team damage incident there. Furzy is flashed, and so that does push him off. But really should not have been a scenario that played out like that. I think Furzy just knew that he wasn't droned, knew that there wasn't a whole lot of pressure from the hatch. He's still playing bottom of those stairs with Seeker low. This could be a very beneficial situation. Your clear will be able to secure the trade, but it comes at the cost of your execute power. You've lost the Lion. You're gonna have to really lean on the one remaining logic bomb call from the Dokkaebi.
Not having any grenades as well. Really not a lot of space can be made. What a flank by Babe, though. Just snipes down the Dokkaebi, leaving only Seeker left to stand alone in this 1 versus 4. And it seems like Prime are going on a bit of a hunting trip here for this lone attacker left on the middle floor. Another one begins to slowly close in from Classroom. Seeker able to get outside, but it's only a matter of time for the defense spots out this sole survivor. And there it is. Prime up 2-0 against Jam Jams, as they've just been in a bit of a dry spell really on their attacking rounds.
Lacking some decision-making elements. I mean, just getting really into kind of a log jam at the top of the freezer stairs there. Why is there somebody solo challenging and instead of flashbangs being poured down that stairwell? Really just bizarre. And, I think Fortnite Jam Jams have missed some of the opportunities to get some openings, pick at some of the mistakes. That Hibana, I get she's low HP, there's a shotgun in her face. That could have easily been eliminate the player in Classroom, back up, get some distance, and line up those 2 targets inside lobby. You really have to be able to fight for yourself there. Dropping 2 rounds might not seem like a lot, but in this ranked rule set lobby, in a best of 1, it really is a lot.
Meeting room now in play for Prime, as they've had 2 successful rounds on both kids and the laundry room bomb site. And for Fortnite Jam Jams, their lineup looks pretty typical when going against the meeting room defense. They've got the OSA, so they can begin to put talent shields over by stage, for example, or if they want to go for more of a kitchen take, they could have one stacked up by dining room, for example. And they also have the ranged hard breach of Seeker, so you can maybe get someone to push in from garage, for example, get some of those split walls opened up, and also begin to then rotate back towards big tower, to get the stage wall to once again help assist the OSA we talked about earlier. A little shocked, though, based on their lineup. They don't want to have a big, I suppose, enforcement when it comes to dealing with vertical pressure. They might want to get someone to go up there and still deal with it, but they don't have a sledge or a buck, so they might try to ignore more of that top floor position than just trying to deal with it head on.
So far, Fortnite Jam Jam's a little bit behind the wheel. Maybe we'll cut him some slack. It is attacking on Oregon, but there's a lot of improvements that could have been made. Adjustments on the lineups. Going tertiary here for the Prime defense. Will opt in a OSA pick. Looks like they've discovered top floor, top T3 is clear. So they'll double drone it. Make sure nobody's going to try to creep up. They've got the attic wall, of course, unfettered by any breach denial, but this is really going to be a tough clear, I think, to construct, because you've got the castle, you've got the mute to ideal turtle operators, and you've already suffered the opening death. There is the trade, though.
Say, at least you get that refrag like you had just mentioned, Reese, and still someone beginning to lurk a little bit closer into dining room, just sitting here and waiting for someone to maybe rotate into your line of sight. That can go a very long way for Fortnite Jam Jams. Still seems like View is expecting someone a bit closer towards showers, maybe hearing that audio call, but so far no kill to be found just yet for the Nook. And in the background, you've got Fortnite Jam Jams now beginning to open up this attic wall so they can begin to slowly deal with that top floor extension, and at the very least just make sure no one can play on that hatch to stop a plant from stage.
I'm really interested in the situation that's boiling over here by Small Tower. You can see the Nook. She knows there's another defender here, but that last member just not exposing themselves, not opting to take any challenges. Look at this from Furzy. What a gumption-based decision to get up close on that wall. A view to kill. He might just decide to waltz right in. There's that angle I was talking about earlier, and it proved successful by Jarl. You're clear. Oh, just gets swung by Furzy. So profitable for this player from this rear stage position. Lockdown Nick is able to score at least one on the recovery, but he's embattled now as Prime defenders push towards his position at the top of T2, and he misses a crucial fight against the player over by Pit.
Still waiting for someone to walk up backstairs, but his fate is set in stone. Series point now for Prime as they go flawless on their defensive half, but Fortnite Jam Jam still unable to really break that cycle that Prime had on their defensive side. Maybe things will get a little bit better as, of course, it is the Oregon defensive side where it's pretty impossible to lose every single round, but Prime still having that forward momentum and probably expecting either Laundry or Kids to be in play. They could definitely bring the right composition just to go in head first and hope for the best, really.
Here's the trap play as Fortnite Jam Jams get onto their defense. Trying basement first. I like the decision-making by Prime. Get in this one. Bring the Ying, the Nook. Two big staples for a basement push. Maybe you focus rear stairs, construction, and the Nook just opts in for Freezer late in the game. That's always a play. It's kind of a trademark, really, of PS4 to wait for that option. It's not always something that's too heavily monitored. Discipline to stay on cams, to watch that Freezer cam can be lacking a little bit. And even if you are on the cams, the Nook's got the perfect gadget to just walk right past and negate that.
Gridlock being re-picked off onto an Ash that can maybe imply a little more aggression coming out of Prime. Now realizing it's not a Kids bomb site defense. Yeah, that might be right on the money. Instead of having the Ash, though, instead you've got the Flores and maybe a full commitment towards that blue bunker rush we see so often when this basement floor bomb site is in play. I really wouldn't fault Prime if they want to go for that. The aggression has been the name of the game for their success against Fortnite Jam Jams, where they have not been able to keep up that pace against Prime to win those impactful 50-50 gunfights. So bring a lineup that is solely based on getting those kills, I mean, it makes total sense to try to close out the game.
Well, things are going a little bit differently in this round. We've got a rush through construction that is ready. There's the Jaeger to try to hold it back, and this is going to give them some time. The Jaeger seeing the Blitz here. Oh, but it might not matter anyway. The smoke running through.
Oh my God.
Blitz is able to come away with one. A C4 toss. Pitlock down. A crucial play there by Fortnite Jam Jams. That might have stopped this one. Here's a swing from Shaiko. Jarl hit on the timing. Mazda down as well. This rush has gone completely awry. Here's Furzy able to nab this target. He does it barely. It took him a real difficulty there. Confirm the kill finally onto the Blitz inside of Elbow, and it's left in a 1-on-3 here for Furzy. Surely they just decide to lock up that Elbow extension. This is going to be a tough one.
Someone now able to retake Elbow too, so Furzy has to worry about that potential of a crossfire now. Once again, plenty of time though. Gather some info. He's got stuns in pocket, even though if there could be ADSs by Elbow, could still bring out all three stuns. But no, he just waltzes past that potential angle he could have to deal with, and will try to isolate the person who could be either in the rack corner or pillar.
Oh, tucked in left of highway. He can see it though. What? Where is he? They didn't see the weird white object with the big hole where the bullets come out?
I guess not. The suppressor completely suppressed from the Finka's eyesight, and now Fortnite Jam Jams are on the board against Prime, but albeit it was a one-off strat, the smoke playing inside of Elbow did a beautiful job of cutting that rush in half. They just had to deal with the Blitz, and sure, they ended up dying by him, but buying those 10 seconds of time for someone to eventually go back into the rotate, killing the Blitz, and eventually retaking blue, that was more than enough to save the round. So although things looked a bit rocky at the beginning, Fortnite Jam Jams, they still held on, and they still found their round win on the basement, but now they've got to repeat it, going to meeting room and kitchen, which I can't really blame them. They've got to win this bomb site anyway, so they either prolong the inevitable and go Kids before heading to here on round 5, or they just deal with this problem now and just see what they can do afterwards heading to Kids if they win.
Well, I'm sure hoping we're not going to have another one of these matches where it's just only one side can win. Only defenders can win. Because we already had the opposite of that earlier with our EU tournament where it was just attackers, attackers, attackers religiously. So, Prime, maybe just a little bit of a mistake. You know, that happens when you call for that rush. Sometimes it's just understood and read out. Teams have gotten a little bit more accustomed to it. That doesn't stop people from going for it, though. It just seems like a real easy option. It's kind of that candy in the store that's real shiny, the one that you gotta have. And it's just an easy option to take.
Are you endorsing stealing from small business candy stores on broadcast? Are you doing that?
I'm not. I'm not.
I see what you're trying to do here, Reese, and I will not stand for that. I will not stand for such tomfoolery on my broadcast. What I will stand for, though, is a full big tower clear. That's great when dealing with a bomb site such as medium room. Big tower is a very important part of the map you need to take as an attacker. We saw this earlier with Fortnite Jam Jams on their attack. They bring out the Osa, some sort of hard breacher. They get that stage wall opened up and go for a default plan. But now they've got a Ying added into the mix, which can be great for making space by green, which is what we're about to see by the hand of Piffon.
Here we go. Candela's in 1, 2, 3, and Piffok just gets drained. I mean, guess you should have expected that. What's not expected is Furzy on the secondary. JKM, oh, Furzy, does he see him? He does on the reaction. Gets the flick shot straight to Seeker. Still, though, the threat of this verticality, Furzy, he can't hide himself well enough. JKM, he gets the nab there, but lockdown Nick is removed in the meanwhile. That was by the 556. They've got the wall opened up. They're going to go ahead and toss the utility. Obscure the vision. That might telegraph their idea, though. I think realistically, this is really your only option. You never want to challenge in against the hatch. Here's the vigil for his swing. It looked like Jarl was expecting, maybe heard the audio for it, but not able to get that target down regardless. Now you've had the player drop down. It's the Thunderbird, of course, using the Osa's own shield against her. If I'm Babe, eventually I'm just going to make the decision, go for this plant. Is there any verticality? Is there a route for somebody to get up above inside doors? Because that's what matters most. Babe has been able to escape. Now he himself going up above to play for the verticality. He's got the hatch. He's got it all perfectly set up for him. The hatch, no, it's reinforced. This might cause a problem, but I don't think they're on the diffuser quick enough. A C4 toss. As the detonation goes, it wasn't good enough, and they know it. So a view to kill will get the fight done on the verticality. A real risky situation there. And ultimately, Fortnite Jam Jams are able to step up, even when it looked like they were knocked out.
A good call by Babe to try to go up above, expecting that hatch to be opened up as it normally is when extending on that top floor, to play off it and guard the diffuser, forcing Jam Jams to try to retake that top floor. Only issue is, Fortnite Jam Jams, A, they had the hatch closed, and B, they had info that Babe gave up the bomb site in that 1 versus 2. That default cam that was never destroyed by the shower hallway completely tipped the tide for Fortnite Jam Jam. That gave the call, hey, you can retake the bomb site right now, play in that 2 versus 1 position properly, and try to get that disabled down as quickly as possible, while the Osa is forced to either go gun up on that single door where you're both looking at, or try to maybe go up above or hit some sort of flank in the mid round during the post plan, and the latter ended up happening rather than the former, but it was still more than enough for Fortnite Jam Jams to win that round, just simply forcing the Osa to make a move on that verticality without the help of the hatch.
You know what? Every time I see that scenario where attacker gets the plant down inside dining and it's a 1vx, as he is running up to the white stairs, that cam is always there. Every single time it's not been shot, it gets the ping, and it tells the defenders exactly what they need to know. And, you know, really your options are best to go up on that hatch, but it's totally different to fight down through the floorboards compared to having the open hatch where the attacker could be at any angle. Fortnite Jam Jams really had that one dialed in. One more round and they will proc overtime in what was suddenly gone from a one-sided game to a neck-and-neck affair.
A little shocked that we excuse me, didn't see a Ying potentially procced for Prime, especially on this top floor. Not seeing a Warden in play whatsoever for Fortnite Jam Jams wouldn't be a horrible idea, since that was a potential option for them back when they were selecting operators at the very beginning of this second half, but they'll opt to bring out 2 hard breachers instead with a little bit of ranged soft obstruction too to maybe help remove some of these deployable shields, especially since there's only ADSs. And with multiple sets of stun grenades, they're not going to have a lot of trouble so long as they can coordinate correctly to get rid of those ADSs first and then have an Ash charge come sailing by to break that one shield that is available for the defense.
Prime not really making any knee-jerk reactions on their off lineup. Bringing what they know works. Not any players really lagging behind too much, because we're 5 rounds in. Control take, Prime stepping onto the map. From Fortnite Jam Jams trying for any extension. They have opening from Attic, which does create a little bit of a different environment for this take. Can cause you to get a little bit exposed though, but ultimately Mazza put away a view to kill with the lead off.
Air jab deployed. No one can try to retake. Attic gets the reinforcement, but no, Babe can't hit enough shots with the AK, and unfortunately, the rotate gets sealed shut. That's one less angle that Prime now has to worry about. They can just hop into Attic for free. Kind of a double-edged sword here, really, for Fortnite Jam Jams. But JKM in the background scores 1, but there's the play up white stairs. Furzy with 1, almost a double. Now really trapping the defenders inside a kid's room.
A good read to know there's going to be one downstairs as well, and Furzy, is he just going to march in? No, again, worrying about that default cam. Don't want it to be pinging you in the back. Oh, the timing for Furzy. Still got that player locked down, though, and so that means a 2 versus 3 occurring on the site, but it drops to just a single man control of the objective. Gets rid of the Jaeger. He just needs to play the time here. Had a shot on the cap cam. Maybe Pitfox's controller died. Don't know what happened there, but he just couldn't adjust to the left. They've gotten rid of that player below. Finally, the big window guy will step back up. It'll be a Selma launched. I guess that's the cover for the audio cue. And with no rotation through Attic, the Finka can just lock it down as she continues to hold the trigger pull back. Lockdown Nick, yeah, he runs over there. There's no rotate, buddy. You closed that one off way earlier. So he can't get through, and Prime hold all the leverage. But look at this, their own prep, and the lineup, it works as Prime are able to finish it off. The very final attacking round goes to them, and they seal the score here, 4-2 on Oregon.
And that's the double-edged sword right there of having that rotation hole closed off, is the fact that, sure, you've got, one less angle you need to worry about for the offense, but also you now just give up a lot of the map essentially for free for the offensive side. Or I guess, sure, there's one less angle that could go either way for the offense or defense, and you're not going to get traded. So you've got the man advantage for now. But with Prime being such a formidable opponent, when winning those gunfights, it's only a matter of time before they close in on you and secure that potential trade. I mean, Furzy in particular was just going insane with the LMG. We talked about this earlier during the EU broadcast, how despite the LMG has received a lot of nerfs on other platforms, for PlayStation, it seems to be doing just fine, especially in the right hands. And I guess Furzy seems to be wielding this weapon just fine on Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting the targets. I think that was maybe a little teensy bit more on the amount of recoil and the fire rate than the ability to control the recoil. I saw that thing. It was jumping. It was going all over the damn place, but just hosing down that corridor kept the defenders away, and it kept alive the coverage for the plant that ultimately meant the victory there for Prime. And so as we finished it off, surprise, surprise, another matchup between Bing Bong and Pride, which has been our NA ticket so far. Here's the bracket for you. Again, a little bit more competitive there by the Fortnite Jam Jams against Prime. I was left feeling a little bit disappointed, though, that the offenses weren't better oriented from Fortnite Jam Jams. If they got 2 offense pickups and they completed their rounds as they did on the defense there, it would have been them moving on. Just goes to show you got to be able to play both sides if you're going to pick a map like Oregon.
And once again, it's the story, the tale as old as time. Bing Bong versus Prime. I think we've seen this matchup on several different occasions, Reese. Maybe the maps for this best of 3 could be a little bit different, but besides that, everything seems to be going just the way we expected here for the R6 Invitational. I mean, again, Bing Bong, they've been such a strong team for these open series events, and Prime has literally been right behind them almost every single event. So it just makes sense that we end out February with the exact same getup we've seen loads of times beforehand.
Well, with that being said, our stage is set. A fifth victory for Bing Bong, or finally Team Prime able to stop that dynasty, upset the streak, and put their name at the top of the NA Invitational. We'll get to that story and more when we come back from the break. Well, the wait is finally over. We've reached the very end of our day for the NA Invitational here with our PlayStation tournaments. We've got a best of 3 grand finals winner takes $1,000. My name is Sikula, joined here by fellow. We're looking at Bing Bong versus Prime in our grand final.
Starting out with, once again, the reigning champions of these tournaments, we've got Bing Bong and their full 5 roster. For today, we'll take a look at the graphic we have for their team and give you a bit of a refresher as to how they did up against the Courageous. They 4-0'd them back on Skyscraper, so maybe we see them today, perhaps, when we head up into that match. But so far, seems like they're keeping up to their Bing Bong standards, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really would expect otherwise for a roster that has pretty much 5 of the best console talents that are out there. Bowie is somebody who really has an impressively large cult following. He's got a YouTube channel if you want to check it out. He's got a lot of experience in comp, has been around. He was a big member of the Toxicos, which was kind of one of the all-star Go4 teams back in the day. And he's somebody that really is a fearsome player, one that's hard to get in front of. As we started off our coverage as well, you mentioned that match versus the Courageous. Bing Bong, their very helm, had slump, dropping 10 kills. Did not mince any words in that first game.
Yeah, but also for the Oregon matchup, Furzy kind of repeated that same tempo, dropping a 10K as well on more fragging operators like the Finka, for example. Maybe we'll see that in play once again for our best of 3 matchup where we do actually have the maps confirmed. It'll be a default slugfest of Oregon, Villa, and Cathay Dostoevsky, where I think we've seen all 3 of these maps played in some iteration for both Bing Bong and Prime, so it makes sense we see them all the way in the finals for this best of 3 tonight.
I was holding out hope that maybe we would get something a little frisky. Maybe we would get finally the Nighthaven Labs that I've been hoping for, but I'll have to go ahead and convince one of the players on Bing Bong to bring that next time that we do end up playing here. So as you say, the default kind of normal Rainbow Six Siege, nothing crazy going on here. But a lot of maps with structure involved. We had Oregon already. We just got done watching how that one played out, and it wasn't too bad of a game. And so between these 2 squads, you know, maybe an opportunity to correct some issues that were found as, of course, Prime got into the second half of their game. But otherwise, I feel like this one, again, it's probably going to be the Bing Bong show for championship number 5.
I'd have to say adaptation is going to be a huge thing for Prime if they want to succeed against Bing Bong, not just raw mechanics. Both teams are very competent when it comes to winning gunfights, but the last second shot calling, I feel like that's going to need to be at an A game level for Prime so they can always be on their feet against such an adaptable team. Basically just a liquid team, a very fluid team such as Bing Bong. If they're not able to do that, if they're not able to replicate rounds like back on Oregon, their final attacking round to deny overtime where they catch one small little mistake where there's no one playing an addict and they reinforce the rotate and now they can plant by concrete, little things like that, if they're not able to keep that constantly there in their back pocket on the attacks, they could be in big trouble, especially since for Bing Bong, they have always been an aggressive team and they're always willing to get in your face and take gunfights.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about aggressive, the best example would probably be that very final round we had on Skyscraper. That one was just a shootout. Defenders became attackers as they took to the exterior of the building in a way really that you only get in the console comp environment. So things are getting closer to our very final matchup here. And I want to ask you, I feel like this is going to be kind of a cop-out question, but Prime losing so many times, of course, to Bing Bong, what's holding them back?
I really wouldn't know what to put my finger on it, perhaps, except for maybe just trying to stoop to the level of Bing Bong. That might be the biggest concern because their roster hasn't changed whatsoever. Bing Bong's has only changed just slightly, but you've got Mazza, Furzy, Babe, Pifok, and Jariel. They're all really competent players put in the right environment. So again, it's just trying to match the tempo that Bing Bong always provides on their rounds, both attacking and defending. You cannot do that. If you try to go mano a mano against them, 9 times out of 10, they're going to just beat you at their own game, simply put it. So trying to come up with your new spin of how you should be trying to play on both the attack and defense, that might be the right way to go against Bing Bong, because clearly hitting your head against that same wall has not worked out several times in a row. That does not just include Prime, because Bing Bong have faced several opponents and have always come out on top.
So we did have some clarification, of course. We were wondering earlier, what was going on with Bing Bong and why they had nobody named Devious Ollie, and they had somebody that's name was like Bowie. It's like Bowie, but there was a W and an I and an E thrown in there. So that was actually Devious Ollie. I've got the inside scoop. He forgot his login details for his PlayStation account because he's been over on the other console so much. So he has had to get another account in order here for Bing Bong. They've had a surprising performance so far out of Ecstasis, who was somebody that came onto the roster and showed us that he can compete at the same level as the rest of the team. So we'll have to see as we get into this one. Is it going to be Bing Bong just extraordinary again? Or do Prime finally have the upper hand that they've been needing and we've been constantly asking for?
Well, we're seeing at least the first map looking pretty good for Prime. They're starting out on Oregon for map number 1. That is a favorite pick for Prime. We just saw them play a moment ago against Fortnite Jam Jams. So if they're able to fix some of the mistakes they had against Jam Jams on their attacking half, for example, where they're able to change things up and maybe not get too hectic, again, not stooping down to the level of Bing Bong, then they could find more success on the attack than what we saw just a few moments ago in that best of 1 series. If not, we might see this series end out in a pretty quick fashion, similar to that Skyscraper game, because again, Bing Bong, they look clean on their attacks. Executing on a default map such as Oregon probably won't be too challenging, especially if you're not going to go in for, a blitz rush that a lot of people are now pretty well known to seeing in not only comp games, but also ranked games too, since it's just so popular, especially for the basement floor bomb site.
Well, kind of another interesting niche to this game, of course, with Prime choosing Oregon. They defer the side choice, and Bing Bong, of course, have opted to begin on defense here, as you always would. So that's 3 rounds of the aggressive Bing Bong nature that you're going to have to go against here. And I feel like that might be too much to get in front of. The only thing that you can kind of say maybe benefits Prime a little bit is the fact that they're already warmed up. They've just played
True.
Oregon. They just got 3 opportunities to attack. However, they lost 2 of those 3 attacks. It was their defensive efforts that got them the win, of course, against Fortnite Jam Jams in that previous matchup. So if you lost 2 rounds against a new team to us, how many rounds are you going to win against the team that you and I have watched win every single one of these events that we've covered and every single one of the events that have been covered by anyone here on the PlayStation Twitch channel?
Starting out on that offensive side too, like you mentioned, where you weren't as clean, you weren't as fluid as you were back on the defense. I could imagine Bing Bong are going to be able to find a lot of those mistakes you were making back in last match and just kind of allowing them to be replicated, so to speak. So it's definitely not the biggest thing. And again, we talked about this earlier with the lower round count for it being more in the rank settings, if anything, compared to just regular comp. That forward momentum goes a long way. I think you brought this up earlier for the EU competition. You will have games where you just show up and you can't shoot back, or you just don't do as well as you normally would expect on game day, and because you have such a small room for error, you can just be sent home empty-handed because of that. And we could definitely see that today, despite things being in a best of 3.
Yeah, it can depend. It can be kind of something that does swing back and forth. When we were covering the EU games earlier, we were talking about how the best of 3s, they tend to be pretty one-sided. They tend to be whichever team wins the first map, they're pretty much going to take the second because it's hard to recover. It's a very, cut and dry, not really much of a break that you get between the first map and the second. So if you don't have the mid-round adaptations and the post-round adaptations down, there's no opportunity to take a step back and say, this needs to be changed. We need to bring this in, this strategy, and we need to make this kind of a call. You have to be lightning quick with some of these decisions, especially when you're going to be playing on these maps that it's so easy to read your opponent.
Looking into Villa as well, there are a lot of similarities between that and Oregon, more or less just how default both maps are. So you're going to get a basic understanding of where you want to start on every attacking round. Doing a master overtake can work with basically every bomb site that can be played. Master, you can get vertical down if they're going in a dining room, for example. If they're aviator, you just start your roam clear from that position. You can go direct if they're by trophy and statuary. The list goes on. So everyone has a basic understanding. So it tends to be whoever shows up on that given moment will do better. And Bing Bong are a team known for just showing up on the day and just going buck wild. So again, this best of three map pool, it makes sense for both teams. We've seen this story countless times, but you're always going to want to give that upper edge to the team that's always been able to prove themselves on game day.
Well, I suppose the one element that is lacking today. Every single time that Bing Bong have matched up with Prime, they've had their dear leader at the helm, and that is, of course, Cheese Pie 37, who is the perfect image of what it means to be a console comp star in 2023. He's absent today. I believe he's involved with some Valentine's Day festivities with his girlfriend. So something else has happened in there, and he's not been able to make it in. And so maybe that's the upper hand that Prime need, because not only is Cheese Pie a really good player, he's also somebody that really can be looked to as a leadership figure. I've watched some of his content, and I've seen the ability of himself to make those calls, to make those IGL decisions, calling out the strats and things like this. If that's absent, there could be a problem. Finally, the wait is over, and we're ready for our grand finals, the Mexican versus American matchup, Prime versus Bing Bong here today.
Seems like the wife and kids finally got in the way of the rankage, but hopefully Bing Bong can carry on in solidarity. The ace being removed almost instantly here for Bing Bong, a Thatcher to follow suit, so nothing really to scoff at. We've seen a lot of ace in play for Prime, so it kind of makes sense, a bit of a target ban, so to speak, and he's also really good on Oregon. Narrowing us out now on the defense, we end up seeing that Malusi, which was also eliminated by Prime Pardon just the match prior against Fortnite Jam Jam, so that makes sense too.
There's your Ace and Cade combination here from Bing Bong. They aren't going to remove the Thunderbird that's been typical. And part of me wonders, John, if that was Cheese Pie who was leading the decision to ban Ace and Thunderbird every single game, because he's gone today and we see them doing things differently. It could also be maybe something in the patch. I don't know. I don't want to look into it too much, but either way, we're on kids' dorms first. We'll see the trap selection, of course, coming in there from Ollie's. He brings the Legion. We've got Soulless as well, a welcome addition to this roster, one that had some showings in the Prime versus Fortnite Jam Jams game just moments prior.
There it is, that Ying pick I was talking about earlier that Prime were alluding to against Fortnite Jam Jams. They'll bring it out as of right now against Bing Bong, but of course that could change. Depending on the operators they might feel threatened against when dealing with maybe some toxic babes or the ADSs to maybe catch out or force away someone who could be playing off of those Candelas primed and ready. Bing Bong starting out on the top floor of kids in dorms. Their lineup looks pretty typical. They've got the Legion that they tend to bring out quite frequently, and they also have Slump on the Solus. So a lot of info can be not only gathered from this composition, but also denied quite swiftly. And drone economy is always a huge thing for, I'd say, any competitive team, period. We saw how effective that drone economy was for Like Effect, for example, just earlier today in the EU series. So that could definitely apply here today on Oregon, too.
Got the Execute edition of Furzy on the Ying. He loves his LMGs. Been bouncing between the Ying and the Finka so far. He'll be an instrumental part of this game, in my opinion. If he's able to light up and stay up, I don't think anyone is going to be able to stop him. So they're going to start off with the Twitch, try to step in, get rid of any utility. You don't have any mute jammers or Cade Claws stopping you from being able to open up the wall. Mazza will look for the repel. Always kind of a quick and dirty way that you can sometimes get the opening here.
big tower takes so far for the offensive side of Prime, similar to what they did just earlier today, having the exothermic charge to maybe open up that wall, but a rotate was actually made during the prep phase by Bowie, so seems like the attacker's job has already been done, so to speak, as they're also working their way around in from Closet to try to get that double wall breached open as well. I'm interested to see if Furzy will continue to push over from Attic with those Candelas or go somewhere else like Big Window, for example. But so far, he'll just hold a passive angle, maybe expecting someone to get a bit aggressive. And for the time being, will just remain outside before eventually pushing in forward to maybe assist those players by Big Tower.
Almost a minute and a half has passed, and not a lot of ground having been garnered so far by the Prime side. They've got Mazza still lingering outside. One defender, the highlight seen there, just down the bottom of the main stairs. There's a sudden detonation of the air jab, and it gives away a free opportunity. Ollie, the opening death, as the Legion is brought down quickly.
Good opening pick as well. That flank could have been so potent, eliminating all of that pressure by Attic. 3 potential kills. 5 versus 2, that's more than what you could ask for your main roamer, but here comes the flurry of kills, sailing left, right, and center. The flank up Armory stairs. Nets Ecstasy 1, Mazza shut down, but a quick refrag now scores us in a 2v2 with everyone drastically low in HP besides Yatesy boy.
Their body will drop. That's, of course, courtesy of Yatesy. He gets another. Furzy on the cut. He wins this duel with this player in Dorms. It becomes precarious. He can't do it. Yatesy just on the quick pop and run steps out and puts the Ying right to bed. It's Prime to start off, but they just couldn't finish the job.
Yeah, they had a good opening kill to deny that flank, but still, Bing Bong were able to hold on into the bomb site. Not only that, but acknowledging some of the weaknesses on that flank watch. Sure, you had the Nomad put over by, I believe it was just Big Tower, but not getting that rotation down, not opening up those barricades to also check over for Armory. Just those small little mistakes, allowing Bing Bong to be up to their old usual tricks. Nets them a huge couple of kills in the mid round to keep things even, and then still force the hand of Prime when they now only have their Addict and White Stairs player to work off of. That eventually dwindles down to just White Stairs, where you're met at a pretty ugly 1 versus 1. And now Bing Bong get the luxury of going, I believe it is down below into Laundry Room and Supply, if I read that correctly. And yeah, I luckily did this time around. Saved by the bell, it seems.
It would be weird to go tertiary this early in the rotation. I think Bing Bong could probably do it, but why not just go to the basement before you get to that very last round? Seem more or less to be the same. Ollie entirely unsuccessful on the Legion in the previous round, but his teammates were able to bail him out there, so not any drama happening because of that one. See what Prime are able to bring to the front, already losing the first of their attack rounds. You really want to be able to nab 1 before this half comes to a close. You get 2, you're in good territory, but it's always important to remember this is Prime's map pick. They're heading to Villa. That's Bing Bong's choice, a map that they are just fearless on.
Like that small change up by Babe as well, having the Jackal available to him, he can now begin to start from that top floor, if not at least small tower, and just begin to close in on some of the roamers that we've seen Bing Bong bring out religiously on their defensive half, guaranteeing that they have fallen off of that roam and have retreated back to the basement floor. That way their hard breachers can do their job, the way the Nomad can deploy her air jabs and not have to worry about being caught gunned down. Little things like that are a great addition to an attacking lineup. And yeah, I think Prime has figured out no one has even pushed into this top and middle floor since the early prep phase just to get the hatch opened up. That's going to be huge information granted to Prime so they can do their job at a much faster rate.
Always like to see when the offense are able to get in very productively. There's another player top white. We saw this be a major issue in our previous Oregon game that we had, with that player just standing up for themselves on that stairwell. Hatch has been open inside security, so they've got the option there. I hope they better drone that player. It's going to be Ecstasis, who dies early, killed by Furzy. Again, Prime with the opener, but now the task is on them to be able to convert that.
And just still making sure that you can keep that lead off heading into the execute. A big pick, though, more specifically, just killing the smoke outright. Now you've got little to no denial left, except maybe this nitro cell that almost gets deployed. The swing onto the Hibana just will not work, but Bowie just appears out of nowhere. How did that just happen?
He was just there on the freezer steps the whole dang time. Mazza tags up Slump and lands the header. Yatesy couldn't even get his C4 thrown out before Babe put him to rest. Prime with an urgent response, getting down the hatch and overwhelming the defenders on the objective.
Just not having any sort of roam extension. It seemed a bit jarring that Bing Bong wanted to play so bunkered for the base 4 bomb site. Sure, it makes sense. But given the lineup that they had, it really looked like they wanted to have at least 1 or 2 main roamers to waste a little bit of time, break some drones, and then maybe they fall away after getting a pick or just at least doing their original job of, burning about a minute and a half or so off the timer of Prime. But with no one roaming on that top floor, only having 1 lurker by the freezer staircase, that provided a lot more time for Prime to set up, get all the hatches opened up with the help of that Hibana, and isolate some of those defenders on Bing Bong that were willing to get aggressive. Furzy, once again, top-notch gunner. He wins that opening gunfight, and Prime just continue to push in with that man advantage. And off the back of some well-timed secondary utility, they also make some space. That way Bing Bong cannot win a steady 50-50 gunfight.
Reattempt here from Bing Bong. Look to fix up some of the errors. Couldn't really do much to respond to the overwhelming pressure there by Prime. More rounds like that is definitely a way that you can put Bing Bong out of the contention for their 5th title in the PlayStation tournaments. Get that going, and you really would be doing well for yourself. What's happening with Exodus? He's spinning in a circle. Maybe he dropped his controller and had to go to the bathroom or something. No, I think he's definitely there because you can see him varying in speed. And now he's stopped.
Maybe he's on advanced joystick rotation where it actually picks up speed. It's not one steady consistency. I ran that for a while. It was like, okay. I won't go any further. I'm sorry, Reese. I didn't know I brought up bad history with that one there.
You use classic rotation or you're a fool.
I thought you were going to say you're a fraud.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. You're a fraud.
Don't worry, I got you. Well, after like a couple months, I took it off. There's really no major difference except randomly you get a huge spike up. It's just more personal preference. But I would agree, classic, definitely the way to go for most. This info game, wow, that's also the way to go apparently for the defensive side. The Inox combined with Jariel not too far behind does injure the Jaeger, but besides that one little nifty play, things have looked quite damaging against Bing Bong. Furzy almost eliminated, now finally finished off by Devious Ollie, now leaves us, technically speaking, in a 4 versus 3 unless Slump can get revived, which might happen.
Fuck, maybe he looked like he was just going to charge into the objective. Slump is still down. There's nobody here to support him. So finally the confirmation there. One still out towards rear stage. That's Bowie. You can hear him fighting back against the take by Prime. They've been slowed to a grinding halt. The hatch in meeting is left curiously unreinforced. Hard to say if that was maybe remnants of their roam play that they were going for, or maybe just simply an error. Here's one to step up the freezer stairs. The drone should be there. Pifok suddenly realizes, gets on the gun. The gas will force him back, though, eating up more and more of the time. I think Bing Bong are in a real healthy position here.
As long as Yatesy Boy can play by freezer stairs, that's going to be such an important spot to hold with those toxic babes. You can block off that doorway. Someone else can watch the hatch drop. It really limits what Prime can do by freezer, and there it is. Not actually Yatesy Boy holding bottom freezer, but instead Devious Ollie with the T5 finds yet another, almost eliminating the Hibana, but Pifok wins that 1-for-1.
Here's where you need the big action to come alive for Prime. Pifok and Jarl, the sledge got down rear stage for 1, but he dies in the attempted engagement with the 2nd. Pifok charges through. That was not what Yacey expected. It doesn't matter anyway, though. Finishes the reload, gets the gun back up and into the fight, and he puts that Hibana to sleep. Night-night.
Wow. And an impressive reaction by the smoke and an unfortunate loss there by Pifok. Again, the element of surprise could have put us in that 1 versus 1. No more utility to deny a plant. So maybe huddling up in that iconic corner could have been the saving grace, the Hail Mary for Prime to take the lead against Bing Bong, but just was a position not meant to be won, I guess, for Prime. Bing Bong now back in the lead as they switch onto the attacking half. So a bit of a, I suppose, good look for Prime. At least they got their one default round win that ended up saving them against Fortnite Jam Jams. But will they find that same success when playing on the defensive half? That's got to be the bigger question. And bring out operators like Clash, it's definitely a bit of a, I suppose, eyebrow raise, but we have seen this before by Prime, if I recall correctly.
And defuse as many bombs as they can.
Yeah, I think Babe did play it in our previous event that we had. Just kind of bringing the Clash in there, put your opponent at a bit of a disadvantage. Basement is a great strat. Excuse me, great site for Clash. Put it in elbow, especially put it in freezer with some coverage with like an ADS or something. That's just a real problem to get past because it's like a bunker, you know, concrete walls on every side of you. So with the Clash being there, it's hard to get around her. It's hard to coordinate utility to deal with the Clash at this level, especially, you know, you're not going to want to bring a Nomad in a lot of these instances. You'd rather have some other piece of utility. So I think a big opportunity for Prime, take this one, really get some momentum, show Bing Bong that, you know, this is going to be their defensive half here for Prime.
And what will Bing Bong opt to do here? They've got a single hard breach, a lot of them starting over by the main entrance spawn. Seems like they're going to want to just keep things basic, try to get this double wall opened up as quickly as possible by Closet. Even a logic bomb deployed almost by Bowie in the first 30 seconds. There it is, finally confirmed for the Dokkaebi as they now creep their way up on this rappel. Does anyone expect this? Yes, the smoke is aware of this, but Mazza cannot hit a shot quickly enough on the head of the Dokkaebi, and they almost score 2 separate kills, but now falling away, their position fully realized with the defense, but so much damage had been done. Luckily, there is a Thunderbird on the board, so Mazza can live to tell the tale and not be too concerned about his next engagement.
The C4, a really long throw, but nothing happening to Slump. We'll get the exothermic going. Quickly got the addition. Was that a secondary EMP, I think? Maybe thrown out by the Dokkaebi. Looks like it was. So they get the wall open, no trouble at all. Now they've got the Clash. It's not really helping out too much as Piflock dies regardless of that shielded operator. So they're going to breach open the wall. Bowie on a long shot against Jarl. You got to be careful with this Clash. She gets isolated. Things can become problematic very quickly. Furzy on the reaction, traveling through the rotate. He was looking out towards the breach. A great play in here by Slump. They've isolated the Clash. They've shot her in the back, and they forced it down to just one remaining player. It's Mazza. He's going to have to get super active. He's not aware of the Ash, though. He's getting pinched down and forced back right into the handgun of Ecstasis as Bing Bong do not let off the gas, and they step up 3-1.
And a great way to counter that Clash as well, you tend to deem those fully extendable shield ops like the Montaigne and Clash as pure info gatherers. So the best thing to do in some instances is deny that info potential that Prime has with Clash available to them. A quick stun thrown out by the Thermite allows them to dodge the Clash's line of sight and get into the bomb site where the Jaeger, I believe was Furzy, was completely unaware of that because the Clash couldn't call it. They were full white. They had no clue the Thermite evaded them. That's a free pick. And now there's less defenders that are able to loom around the Clash and maybe, you know, take a gunfight with the help of that stun ability and info being gathered by the see-through shield. So a really good job by Bing Bong to figure out the small weaknesses that Prime had, which was the isolated Clash, and kind of just put the full pedal to the metal, so to speak.
Well, it's a reattempt of Dorms here early into our best of 3 for the grand finals. A reattempted site choice by Prime as they are going to try to confirm or correct some of the errors. Seen previously, they dropped the Clash. Seeing the value that she added just really wasn't enough. Rather have an additional gun in the fight. The Clash was so excellently countered there, as you described, by Bing Bong, so maybe something we'll save for the next tournament instead. Bing Bong closing this one out would give them a lot of leverage with Villa still left on the horizon.
Attackers objective.
At least this time will not have the Clash in play for Prime like we've mentioned. Bing Bong, though, not looking to really change up most of their lineup. I would assume they want to go for the exact same direct take two. Maybe not having the Dokkaebi try to, creep their way up the single window to get a freebie. Instead, they might be a little more proactive in terms of helping out the Thermite, getting in the building. But wow, what a spray by Mazza. I think that was over by the armor repel. He was just expecting someone to get in that position so early, and he just quick little 1-2 punch. Now the Dokkaebi's gone, no more pocket EMPs, but you've got grenades to maybe destroy that mute jammer, and still how about the Thermite?
Therm is here. Prime. Opening kill. Really need to try to convert off of that. One player lurking out towards T2. Maybe it was going to be Ecstasy sent in. Try to stab back at this player. He's more worried about somebody up on the hatch, but just waiting here. Hope for the audio cue. This player eventually is going to have to make the call to rotate back. Bing Bong don't really have the hard breaching resources to go for a split take here unless they pulled Slump back and had him travel across. So now the Ash stepping in for this clear. Believe the player is going to be tucked right, top of the stairs. And in that corner by the bookshelf. Hard to say where they're at right now. We don't see him. So I don't know if they're hiding or what's going on over there. But in the meanwhile, Ollie has gone away, and Ecstasy, he leaves that area.
Wow, swing by Furzy as well. Good call to just go in for that engagement when the Thermite is gunned down, leaving the diffuser in the hands of the defense once again. Bing Bong looking to try to reclaim that in this 2 versus 5, though. It definitely seems unlikely. It's just Ecstasy left now, pushing up from the armory corridor. Sure, there's no one, over by Addict that he has to worry about, but it's still a 1 versus 3. And Mazza, he's got all 3 toxic waves to maybe slow down Bing Bong for recovering that diffuser.
Oh.
But Ecstasy, he is really giving it his all.
Be careful before this situation starts to turn sour. They've gotten the Jaeger back inside the bomb site here. 40 seconds is plenty of time for the Ash to make this play. Prime needs to play discipline. So much gas. The final Babe, it's deployable shield. Great cover here. Prime are playing this just like they should. The gas will eventually evaporate, and it'll be a trade, leaving 2 defenders alive. And Prime are able to put the stop to Bing Bong's momentum. 1 round, and Prime have got themselves overtime.
That small call as well by the defensive side of Prime to actually go and get a bit aggressive, try to make sure that Bing Bong cannot fully set up. It may have looked like it didn't do a lot of damage because eventually the Thermite still got the closet wall opened up, but it just took so much more time to get that ball rolling. And it kind of left these little questions opened up for Bing Bong as to who is now going to replace the Dokkaebi in terms of getting someone to help open up this wall for the Thermite. It took so much time for that to happen. Not only that, but your Addict clear completely backfires. You're now down 2 attackers in a 5-on-3, and the wall angle, sure, you can use that now as the attack, but the defense can just, return the favor, so to speak. And with no one pushing in by Addict, everyone can just put their focus on towards Trophy Room and also the breach that was opened up a couple seconds ago. And that's all that Bing Bong really had to work with. A good attempt by Ecstasy to try to bring back that round, but it was still a 3v1 with a lot of util against him and a lot of guns.
Bing Bong upping the firepower. They've got the Jackal in the lineup here. Very last round of the first half. They've got the Buck too. So we must just be missing something, John, because we were talking about the Buck on Oregon earlier. And I don't know if it's maybe a gun thing. Maybe it's just the C8 is a bit of a demon. Having secondary hard breach is a good backup. But, sometimes I feel like the Buck's a bit of a missed opportunity.
Again, it has to do with, are your opponents roaming on this base of floor bomb site? That's the bigger concept where the Buck becomes important. I think there is a bit of a room extension, at least by the Azami of Pithawk, but that could just be over by security. So maybe the secondary shotgun and skeleton key combination could actually be viable here. But that's, of course, if Prime are actually committing to that roam extension. A couple of drones are going past on this first floor, just double checking, making sure if there is anyone up above, and the answer is no. So now 2 entire attackers that were, solely focused on getting that roam cleared out, they're not going to have to worry about it whatsoever. But at least they've got Inox scanners for general info and secondary hard breaches to alleviate some of the pressure that the Habana tends to face.
Really methodical on the drone work. Bing Bong have it down to a science. Buck in. Rest of the squad joining up here. All the defenders are back at home within the objective. Not trying to do anything too fancy. Bing Bong will be careful to check inside of that bottom freezer area. Don't want to repeat the mistake that Prime made earlier, letting a defender linger at the bottom of those stairwell. There is a player there, and he swings it. Really a strange decision by Babe to take that fight. And so far, Ollie picking the buck has really worked out for him, at least in the gun department. Getting rid of the mute on early death, you're only C4 too.
And that's why you want to have the smoke playing over by bottom freezer. If you feel any of that pressure building up, you throw a toxic babe, and now you only have to worry about the hatch or that freezer doorway. But with only a single nitro cell, you have to value your life so much more in that position. And Babe just could not deal with all of that stress building up over time. And now Bing Bong once again start out on the right foot. And wow, what an angle by Ollie to now make it 2 for the buck.
Pifok just shouldn't have been there, exposed himself, and got found out for it. Was dropping off the edge of the table when the timing ultimately came to be the Grim Reaper. 5-on-3 with 45. Plenty of utility. An ability to get in here. Prime have got to work some crossfires. Yatesy might be looking for the backstab, perhaps joined by Bowie there too. It's the Habana who races into the objective. Still a player tucked in the cupboard. That's Jarl. Furzy has another onto Yatesy. It's left to just Bowie now. What a clutch there. Furzy and Jarl standing tall. The 2 versus 5. They hold it off.
And we talked about it earlier, Reese, seeing Furzy in his element on Oregon against Jam Jams. Once again, he will provide when needed most on Laundry, with a little bit of help by Jarl as well. Do not get me wrong. To keep us even now on Oregon, like you said, overtime is now on the docket for both Bing Bong and Prime, when Bing Bong really looked like they were just moments away from closing out that round. They had 2 isolated gunfights that Prime could not trade from, but everyone just kind of barreling in, all single file lined. It was enough for Prime to get those refrags and still keep afloat against this storm that Bing Bong was cooking up.
I'm forcing overtime, giving us the competitive game and really compelling us to continue watching on the edge of our seats. This was their map selection, so it's only fitting that they would have some good energy to be found in the latter half. Being able to pick up one of those attacks and then completing 2 defenses successfully sets you up for this position. Bing Bong should have had that round by all means, but they just got a little bit ahead of themselves, just got in a little bit too aggressive, and that was so tremendous by the Echo player, dropping down for Jarl, getting 1 and then able to react, adjust, and eliminate the second coming in there through storage. It was just so beautifully done. So now Bing Bong on the back foot here. They're going to have the double offense. A big question, are they going to be able to clean up their act here as we're on offense first in OT?
Not too sure. For Prime, a big way they found that early tempo was securing that opening gunfight against Bowie, not able to do his job on the Dokkaebi, compared to round number 4, where he really was a make or break during the early round phase. So for Prime, if they're not able to repeat that same aggression, they allow Bing Bong to set up. This could be a pretty tough position altogether for this defensive hold on the top floor. Not only that, but now you've got Ollie on the buck as well. He's been doing pretty good with this Canadian operator so far, and getting vertical is definitely a big advancement when you're attacking the kids' bomb site in particular. It can remove a lot of those anchor positions that are top-notch when trying to stop a default plant by that closet wall.
The one thing we don't normally see, Slump having himself kind of a sleeping game so far. Only 1-5. He was 10-0 in their earlier matchup against the Courageous, which was really a sight to behold, but maybe he just isn't exactly warmed up after the extended break we had between the first semifinal and now this, the grand final. Good to see him maybe do something a little bit more impactful here in overtime, and That's not a way to start off. Hextus just went prone trying to shoot a cam. I guess unaware that the shield could see him clear as day.
Yep, just the deployable. Seems to be all quiet on that front, but it was the exact opposite. Mazza springs up, and it's a pretty quick 1-for-1 against the Thermite. At least the wall's been opened up, but now having one of your main fraggers completely removed is definitely a step in the right direction once again for Prime, and they still have all their toxic babes. Finally, they come flying out in the middle of the bomb site just to slow down Bing Bong, but really, it's only a matter of time before they hit the go button.
Grenade goes in, detonation. Gets rid of that shield, forces that defender back, or maybe not. Still there and fighting against what is really a very linear take, just pretty much from the Master side. Had big window pressure earlier, and you can see what has happened because of the very one-dimensional effects of this take so far. Mazza with 2 pickups so far already. They really need somebody to bail them out of this position. That might have to be Ollie trying to come in. There's the support. Yatesy only had the 1 flash though, and so he's not able to blind out his teammate. Maybe that doesn't matter though. Bowie with another set of kills. They've gotten it down to just 2 defenders remaining. Bowie will need an ace to be able to complete this one as his teammate down, but not out. He looks the wrong way at the wrong time. Bomb chassis angle. Bowie with 4. Can he make it 5? Closing the distance. Defender left in the pit. Bowie with the ace. Get off of him. Nobody can stop him.
A masterful clutch by the Dokkaebi. Bing Bong back in the lead once again. You had the 2v5 in comparison to the ace clutch to bring back the advantage. What a round by Bowie. And altogether, that was the Hail Mary that they needed. Nothing else was going their way. Sure, you had the main wall opened up, but with no one really causing that chaos by Addict, Mazza could just sit pretty by Addict the entire round. He nets 2 kills. He slows down, if not completely shuts down the execute with those toxic babes. You've got a flank being built up, but Bowie out of nowhere. When Prime begin to once again stoop to the level of Bing Bong, once they begin to get a little too gung-ho in that man advantage, that's where Bowie steps up. A simple 2-tap of that DMR is more than enough at that range to get a kill, and that's all he continued to do, just scoring body shot after body shot after body shot, and eventually everyone was taken care of on Prime. And once again, Bing Bong, they just need one more round, and they close it out against Prime. What an upset.
Back to dorms this time. Bing Bong on the defense. An electrifying round. Great performance there by Bowie. Rocketing up in the kill count. And Prime, they just let it slip. Almost let it slip when it was Ecstasis in the clutch on that previous round. Going to be the case this time. The reattempt last time. Oh, anyway, as far as this top floor defense goes, Bing Bong got to be feeling themselves here. Get one more, push us onto the second map, and close it off. Get it done early. Instead of wondering what's going to happen on the third map, again, reminding you the second in this series would be Villa, home territory for Bing Bong, one of their best maps flat out.
Furzy now on one of his best weapons by far, the Finka LMG, that iconic 1.5 optic we've talked about a couple of times as well. Could be a good way to get that active spearhead in the round for Prime when they need to get one more round win in order to force max OT on Oregon. But Bing Bong are looking to keep this position rather closed against Prime, even bring out the Bandit to make sure no one can get that Addict wall opened up. There are no EMPs on the board for Prime, no secondary piece of utility to help out the Thermite. It's just stuns and smokes, which might be a bit of a error by Prime. They might really struggle with getting these Bandit batteries off unless they can get vertical down.
Would be a bit of a challenge. You don't have Twitch, you don't have any of the common, man. I guess you got Mazza with the shotgun. Could just go into classroom down there. Here's an opportunity. Sees the head. Oh my god, Mazza should have had that by all means. But just sprayed when he should have tap fired. Loses that for it. Hopefully he's able to recompense something by getting rid of the Jaeger, who is just patrolling the top floor here. Jarl will send in the flashes and just search for the angle. But if Bing Bong play this right and they have support maybe from Attic, you're not going to be able to challenge this guy.
And I mean, XZ, he's just wasting so much time. Imagine he kills the Thermite here. That's Diffuser left outside. There's 3 attackers hunting down Jaeger, and he does it! What a beautiful play! Almost racks up a second, but look at how much you've seen Ecstasy do just by playing in Big Tower. Prime are scrambling to try to bounce this one back.
2 minutes gone. The hard breacher eliminated. Really dire straits for them here. They're going to have to rotate around to recover the case. Bowie tags on. The punishment gets more. Bowie really making sure his opponent was dead with that one. Only 2 attackers left. One up front towards Trophy. The other was, I believe, down here, bot white. Yeah, it's Mazza. It's been one of the star players so far. There's surely going to be a swing here as soon as the audio cue goes through. Nope. Going to be the tucked play by the Aruni. Playing this one safe, and it'll be Ollie to get it done there. Bing Bong, a dramatic recovery after letting this one slip into overtime. They don't allow any response from Prime, and they take it 5-3 there to start off the grand final.
Big mental shocker there for Prime. They really had that at one moment. They would have at least gotten the lead if they had won round number 7. But unfortunately, after coming back in overtime, they fall into the narrow grasp of Bowie with that iconic DMR. And following that, the unlikely situation of 3 attackers struggling to deal with 1 Jaeger, 1 pesky little roamer in the final minute 30, stuck in Big Tower with complete overwatch of the map. What a way to come back there for Bing Bong. And now heading to Villa, they've got to be in high spirits.
Very well done by the core 3, Bowie, Ecstasis, as well as Devious Ollie there. Incredibly well performed, dialed in to the utmost. An exciting Oregon game. Not something we get to say all too often, but definitely the console gameplay delivering for us here, from the 2 versus 5 big clutch up down below to the ace clutch from Bowie that really set his team off in the right direction. Prime getting close, but once again failing to put it over the line. They don't have that late clutch gene to be able to ultimately close the games out, and that has been their major pitfall so far. Always competitive, always show up with a different look, with something exciting, but the experience from Bing Bong, the long-standing nature of these players, has just been what has kept them ahead. So we look on to Villa with the prospect of Prime being eliminated if they can't get their orders in a fair.
Just didn't have that dog in them, unfortunately, on overtime. And again, they had moments of genuine triumph against Bing Bong. And you look at a majority of their overtime kids' defense. They were punishing Bing Bong for doing Bing Bong things where they're looking to try to set up for some sort of really cheeky entry. You've got Mazza smoking them quite literally and figuratively on that deployable shield by Concrete. But then you just aren't able to take, trades against Bowie, who's the only attacker alive in a 1vx, but you're not able to pinpoint him. And, sure, those mistakes you can, readjust in lower division teams, but against Bing Bong, a team you're very familiar with at this point, you can't do that. You've got to play on your A game. And for Prime, it wasn't there the entire time in map number 1. So if you continue to make those small micro mistakes against Bing Bong, Cafe might not even be seen tonight. It seems possible.
Well, I mentioned earlier a major factor in these games with a bit of a different format than you have usually is the ability to quickly make adaptations, whether in the midst of a round itself or just immediately after the fact. And that's because here in these best of 3s, we don't have much of a break in between games. It's pretty much just bam, 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 getting them done, getting them finished as quickly as possible. And we're on to Villa now. So Prime, whatever time that they've had, they need to use it very quickly here to be able to get the adaptation. As we load onto Villa, I mentioned Bing Bong, home territory for them, a map that they are so dominant in. They're going to immediately go to their comfort vetoes, removing the Jackal as well as the Capcan. I'm smelling a little bit of a target ban for Prime, removing the Dokkaebi.
Yeah, that just seemed very deliberate after seeing what Bowie can do on the DMR. I'm shocked we didn't see an Aruni ban followed up by that too for Prime, if I'm going to be blatantly honest, as Bowie did not only find an ace with that Dokkaebi DMR, but also did a bit of damage as well on the defensive side once they realized, okay, this is my crutch gun. I got to go absolutely crazy to keep us afloat, and popped off. Bowie most certainly did, along with a couple of outstanding players as well from Bing Bong. Aviator up first for Prime. We saw a Monty be teased a little bit by the offense, but they think better of it for now. Instead, they've got Blackbeard available, which, put in the right position, can hold some nasty longer angles, just a couple of cutoff angles like by Boar, maybe the Skull or 90 window repel. You could have someone over by Study as Blackbird too. The list goes on. Sure, his, shield on top of his gun, it kind of sucks. But sometimes that one bullet, especially when you've got a couple of potato moments that we've seen, that might be enough to get yourself a kill instead of getting killed.
Yeah, I mean, the shield, they've nerfed and nerfed and nerfed it. But with Siege having one-shot headshots, you could be... What?
Well, he's off the Blackbeard. I hate to cut you off there. I thought you were going to keep going over my... Oh. That's my bad. Yeah.
Either way, to continue with the Blackbeard, I don't know what Bowie's got planned with the Blitz. Probably going to rush from Study balcony into top main. But, just because a lot of times you get one lucky headshot when you're playing on controller, the Blackbeard can be a big helping hand. So we'll see what's going to be dialed up here. It's just going to be pressure to main. Bowie is currently out on drone. It's an aggressive swing. Mazza urgently defending his territory.
Really shocked. Ollie did not expect that. Prime have always been a team that if they feel any bit of stress put towards them, they will just swing and hope they win that gunfight. A little shock there because of that consistency that Ollie wasn't just holding the landing position for Mazza to swing wide, but it might not matter because here comes the blitz from top Study like you talked about earlier.
There's Bowie successful on the pistol. It was Ollie down perhaps from the vertical. Bowie lost, and so too is Ecstasis, who was playing from outside Study. Diffuser down. We've got a defender who's crept forward close to the hatch. Oh, he dropped down the hatch, in fact. Yatesy, is he there on the reaction? He is, not even allowing the Thunderbird to get a shot off. Prime have done a decent job at forcing back this attack, even though they still got control of top main.
Wow, the swing by Babe as well off of that Yokai concussion will bring the man advantage back in the favor of Prime. And Bing Bong, what can they do? They've got loads of info that can counter them with relative ease. Babe just spawning the ashes off of Cam, so they're going to get aggressive off of that. But even if they can get 90 control, will they have enough time to go for a Vault and Skull execute? It doesn't seem likely.
I wouldn't imagine Vault and Skull really would be your best decision here. There's a Yokai just totally out in the open. There we go. It is. Finally, Yatesy is able to open his eyes and see where that cam is. More of an unusual selection. Babe has the shotgun on the Echo, which is going to be tough when Devious Ollie is already on limited health. I think there's going to be somebody that just swings out from close on that AV door. Hard to really tell from the current perspective, but it'd be a real serious threat. One player deep out towards 90. Indeed, there is somebody close tucked at that door. Now they are aware of what's going on with the shotgun. But Jarl could be the ace up their sleeve. The adjustment here, they're going to breach the wall. Yatesy approaches the door, and he's got a great opening here. Eliminating Furzy is the next step, the next key to unlock this clutch situation. They're aware now the shotgun gives away the opening, but Jarl's wraparound from 90. It'll be Devious Ollie. He drops the first. No control of the case. Could still be an Echo Yokai up. It'll be Ollie. He looks to pursue the target. Jarl is long gone, though. And the Buck needs to hurry up here. He could make it in time, but the time shall expire. Should have chosen to just get the diffuser and try for the plant. Couldn't get it done. It's Prime on the board first defensively on their opponent's map pick.
And the passivity there was the go-to for Prime, I'd have to say. On top of that, having the vertical coverage too to make sure no one could push up main stairs and help the blitz, that's always the best case scenario you want to put yourself into against a blitz, is making sure no one is around the blitz to help assist him. You isolate that one shield operator, maybe get a nice melee on him, maybe dodge his stun perhaps, or just catch him in a 2 versus 1 position. That's going to be the name of the game you want to be playing in for Prime, as the blitz was something that Bing Bong were really harping on to be the spearhead for that round, to get people off of main stairs, to get people out of study so they can try to execute and go fast into the round. And hopefully if there's some roamers off site too, they could also play numbers with an entry kill on top of that too. But with Prime just keeping solid in that defensive hold, it doesn't happen. And in fact, Prime play off of the fact that the blitz is isolated, and they in fact win the entry kill.
Was a big helping hand for them. Bing Bong were just a little bit lacking. We're on to the second round, and well, we talked about what was a Blackbeard being shown previously. Now Devious Ollie has gotten the Amaru. You got so many different opportunities to use that operator. You could come in through Astro, just suddenly appear in there if you're heading for a kind of a horizontal take coming over from the study and AV side. It can be something that your opponents are really not expecting. If you time it right, you know, you can just get in from bathroom on kind of more of a master direct take, and you get maybe flashes. You just do something to make that unexpected. The castle barricades, however, are going to make sure that the Amaru has to play this one a little differently.
I wonder where Ollie's going to cook up there on the Amaru. There's a lot of options. If you're a fan of Luminosity, when they had Asian on their roster, you'd be pretty well known that he likes to go up 90 with the Amaru. But instead, Bowie's using it just to get on this little high ground spot to watch over the bore window cutoff angle. So that's what he'll be doing for right now. Kind of the same idea. Any roamers want to fall back near 90, they might be greeted with a pretty ugly angle to face against. It's not a bad idea, but for right now, things will be a little more calm for Bing Bong compared to just waltzing into the building in the first 40 seconds and hoping they can just surprise Prime, similar to what they tried doing back in round 1 with the Blitz.
Good job shutting down that Twitch drone, making sure it wasn't going to threaten any more electronics inside of the objective itself. Babe losing out on one of his Echo Yokais, it seems. Multiple players stacked up. Master Direct here, not really involving anything too lengthy out towards Aviator.
So far, a bit of silence. Maybe getting a couple more people stacked up to burn through some of that utility. There's Bowie with the DMR. We saw him pop off with the M14, but now he's got the cameras available on the Buck. Not even the C7E, but again, a quick 1-2 punch will be enough to at least get the Jaeger in the dirt. And I really feel like Babe is itching to go for this run out with the shotgun. He's just waiting for the perfect.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I definitely expect it to be sooner rather than later. He opts for the bearing on the approach to the window. Yatesy drops Jarl. Furzy has a response. That's the ace. Mazza with a kill there too. Ecstasis has slipped past the Echo in walk-in, and he gets the Thunderbird. Nails Furzy. A tough shot to find there. Will the Twitch be ready for this player flanking? The answer is no. Babe will get rid of the threat inside the objective. Rotates the Yokai for a bit of extra information as things are left to just Ollie and Bowie. Stepping in, they know right where the Echo is, and the Skeleton T gets it done there. Bowie, does he have another big clutch performance in him? Thought maybe he had the Gone 6. Nope, not on Buck. Is unable to get rid of that bulletproof cam. Yokai spotting him out. So now, in the meanwhile, he's going to look for a source of intel of his own. But with 35, it's deep down at the bottom of red. Mazza should have the advantage here, but only if the Mute can make this a fight in close quarters. It will be the Buck, though. Does decide on the drone play to try to see how this one might pan out. Mazza discovered now. Bowie knows all that he needs. Stepping forward, bulletproof cam is there. Can Bowie make it happen? Doesn't have a whole lot of time.
10 seconds to go.
Opponent just so close. Bowie narrowing in, getting there, but no. Mazza stands up, holds him back. Prime with 2 in a row.
Perfectly done by Mazza as well, playing off that natural cover and just fear-mongering the poor soul of Bowie, who was so petrified of that bulletproof camera and nitro cell combination that he figured, there's no chance I can get this plant down. I've got to get aggressive and I got to face this challenge head on and hope for the best. And Mazza just continues to backpedal deeper into the bomb site and just stretching that timer so thin until it breaks clean in half. And it gets Prime, the bigger end of the two pieces of twine. Like you mentioned, Prime up by 2 rounds now. Bing Bong not looking so hot on their attacking side, which is really just uncharacteristic of them. They're always so clinical at finding those entries and, punishing people that tend to get a bit too aggressive. But so far on Villa, that has not been the case. Their info department has been seriously lacking.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Has been just a bit difficult for them so far and has caused some major trouble. Gonna need to get that in order. One last round before the end of the first half. I suppose they do have the safety net, of course, of Cafe. That's usually the way we talk about Bing Bong, though. Usually they're the ones making the decisions, and their opponent is almost always on the back foot. But Mazda, Babe, and Jarl have all been really chipping in, getting kills when they need to. And Bing Bong have, again, consistently lacked any substance, any performance from Slump, who I guess used up all of his gas in the earlier semifinals game because he has just been put out to pasture in this performance versus Prime.
Maybe we'll see more of the Slump we've gone to know quite well over these couple of open tournaments. In map number 3, if we get there, the night is still young. We did see overtime back in Oregon Park, and we almost saw it for the Jam Jam match. But against Bing Bong and Prime, overtime did get rattled in by Prime earlier, so maybe Bing Bong can replicate some of that success on their defense. But they still got one more round left in them before we have the sides finally switch over. Finally going into dining room and kitchen. We've got a pretty normal setup here for Bing Bong. Some range, tar breach to get that pantry wall opened up, and they've got vertical players like the Sledge and Buck combination. So trying to execute into the bomb site should not be challenging. It's getting that top floor control to actually get the vertical down. That will be the bigger concern. But so far, Bing Bong have been top notch. Babe gets shut down, and Furzy has been injured. Nowhere near are those Kona stations to pick him back up.
That kill on the Echo came courtesy of Slump, so just as soon as I mention his name and how he hasn't been performing, he really steps up and makes the improvement. This round looking a whole lot better, but perhaps that tune is going to start to change. Jarl on a tough angle, Slump walks right into that trap. Breaching round detonates the cover. The castle barricade, Yatesy taking a bit of damage, but ices out Furzy in the meanwhile. Pithlock couldn't react there against Devious Ollie. And so now it's Jarl gonna have to be a real demon here in the 1 versus 3 with somebody opening up the vert from above. Jarl looking to step out here. The patience, the calm nature of Bing Bong, and now they're going to step in for the final blow as they close in on every direction, not allowing Jarl any room to breathe. And finally, it'll be Yatesy Boy to complete the suffocation of this player inside of Tetris.
Quick to get the pantry wall opened up, and following soon after was almost a bit of a problem for Bing Bong, as there were no other attack points that they were going for. It was just that pantry doorway that they were using to enter the bomb site. No one was by China breaking that castle barricade. No one pushed into Laundry to try to play near that record player looking towards Tetris. There was no other position held by the offense, so all that Prime had to do was just focus all their attention onto that doorway, and quickly they equalized. But soon after, the rest of Bing Bong finally respond, and that attack was a lot more coordinated, getting people over by China and then reconfirming that control, not necessarily near pantry, but making sure no one can play past there was enough to get that tertiary bomb site down and dusted as a win for Bing Bong. And now they get to reap the rewards and go on their defensive half. But still, Prime have also looked clean on some of their attacking rounds, so they are definitely not out of the fray just yet.
The Aviator up first here in the rotation. See if the story is going to change or if Prime are going to correct what happened last round and start off anew as they get onto the attacking side. Bing Bong have been incredible with some of their defensive efforts. I think it's going to be a bit of a stumbling block here for Prime to run into that. So I think just the way that you counteract that, very thorough with the droning, trying to make sure any mistakes are minimized start to finish, and not allowing that to be something that Bing Bong kind of springboard from, because that's where you can really ice out Bing Bong. You want to get some of those isolations, and we'll have to see if they're going to get it done. The OSA, I think, could be helpful here in creating a bit of extra pressure.
Have to agree. I'm surprised Babe didn't want to start out over by Study, but it seems like they're going to begin to work their way over by the Boar window. That's a really nasty angle. I think you can look all the way from that Boar window into Skull, so it's still going to be a direct take by Prime, don't get me wrong. But now they've got a Talon Shield to hold a cutoff angle over by Boar. That is a wicked... Oh my god. What is he cooking? Who let this man cook? Who let this man cook? That is a nasty angle for that Skull position.
Yeah, this is... I might even be doing too much. I'm not sure what is happening there.
Imagine
stepping out towards...
Imagine Ollie just impact nades the 2 Talon Shields. It's just gone.
That would be the best thing to witness.
Well, finally Prime entering in from the Master side. We saw the Nomad doing a little bit of a flank watch there, and okay, Pifok just narrowly winning that 1-for-1. Thankfully, the Adrenaline Surge can pop himself back up for the time being, but still not able to deal with all of main stairs because there's a player tucked by the main hallway. Pifok another engagement, but just not able to land that headshot. Both him and the Jaeger just dance around being on red bar for both sides, and really it's only a matter of time for the Finka wants to get a bit more aggressive and still try to bout either by main stairs or Study balcony.
Finally, it looks like the Jaeger will bow out of this confrontation between the two over by the main lobby. They've still got this weird situation occurring here. I don't think eventually they're going to pull it away. Pifok finally deals with that Jaeger who came back from a second helping and definitely received one. They've got the shields to move forward. A minute with 5v3 is plenty of time, and it could put Prime onto match point here.
There's the EMP to go off, Surya Gate removed, and the barbed wire. Really, the only denial that I could genuinely see to work here for Bing Bong is either someone getting hyper aggressive, or if Yatesy Boy can score a nice C4 pick to get that diffuser down.
Abe worried about maybe somebody down below. Slump and Yatesy getting really active here. It forces Mazda to make a cutthroat decision, but he got spotted out. Great vision there, and it'll be the player from Arsenal to get things going. Babe has the response, now drops the deployable cover, but it's leaving Babe in a 1-on-2, and he's bouncing back and forth between the angles. Doesn't know about the flank coming through. Just when you thought everything was going Prime's way, Bing Bong rip it all apart.
I really cannot believe we just saw everyone spring up at the same time by Bing Bong to just hope they win their 50-50s. And after that, still able to isolate the offense as well. You had someone trying to hop in from Vault. They just assumed that there wouldn't be a defender there. So Mazda gets very comfortable by the maps table. And then the Legion just swings. Babe's got no clue there's a guy in hunting, and he's like, oh my god, my teammate just died because of me. I gotta refrag him. He hops in, and now Furzy with the diffuser is trying to get into Vault as well, when rotating over to Skull might have been the better call since there was no one playing in maps. I mean, the Nomad Mazda, he already confirmed that. There was someone off-site, maybe by main stairs, so Study could have been an issue, but you can also watch that from the Vault. So either way, if they're pushing in from Bar looking to creep around from 90, or if they're heading into Study to kill you directly, you can watch that from Vault. Either readjusting both people off of Vault or getting one of them to go to AV, I think would have been the better call. But Prime just so flustered from losing 3 attackers in an instant. I think that's what did them in. And again, stooping to that level that Bing Bong can bring out in you, that is what really put them in.
Really important round in the story of this game. Prime need to grab firm control of this one because they just had a tremendous opportunity go completely awry. That's one of those rounds when we're gonna be all done with this and Bing Bong win, and we come back, you know, next month, and we're talking about, okay, it's Prime versus Bing Bong in the finals like usual. What do Prime need to be able to win here? They need to be able to not convert, you know, they do need to be able to convert on those advantages. when a 5v3 is in play and you've got enough time, you have to be aware of what kind of conniving is going to come out from Bing Bong.
Might see some mid-round shenanigans once again. Bowie's back on the DMR. I think that's the big elephant in the room right now, but also Babe is on the glass. Seeing a double DMR bout could be very interesting to watch given how that begins to build up, perhaps. No nades on the glass, so you've got smoke grenades. That's definitely a good thing if you want to actually use that thermal scope and not just bring them for the gun. But now you don't have a lot of explosivity as a whole, so that could be an issue against some of those deployable shields and ADSs you see deployed around the map. But for now, I think they can just utilize maybe those EMPs to burn through most of the utility, then worry about the shield later.
Complete and utter burn. Flash. Mazza able to jump in. Gets rid of the echo. There was one, though. It's Ecstasis. He gets back to safety. So they get that kill against the one player, but it's going to cost them two. It cost them their hard breacher. One jumps into a frost mat. Slump traded back, though. Oh, Piffok. What an angle there. Neat. Able to get right into the pixel. Bowie is in the 1-on-2. He's down below as his angle didn't pan out.
Tough position now. Plant going down. Could be maybe a 1v1, but Bowie just cannot get up above in time to really pay off of that factor. Now you've got a 2 versus 1 post plant. Sure, Piffok is low in HP, but he's fallen away. Someone by Astro, another in Master Bedroom. There are very limited options here for Bowie to score these kills. He swings out wide, but cannot react in time. The second engagement almost does him in, but Jariel eventually seals the deal and procs map point for Prime on Villa.
Absolutely what the doctor ordered there. Prime able to hold off in the end, keep themselves in the fight, and force some challenges. Those were tough angles that they had to take against, and they were able to do it despite losing their hard breacher. It seemed like all the dominoes were falling down. All of a sudden, 3 kills. An orange wave flashes across the scoreboard and goes out to sea, and those 3 members, they don't come back. And Prime now ahead in the lead and really making a fantastic case for themselves on match point here. However, they were on match point back on the previous map, and they just... Actually, that's incorrect. They weren't on match point. It was the overtime that they forced. They could have been on match point if they had done better in the first half. So still kind of foreign territory here for Prime. But, you know, don't let this one go to overtime. Finally, let's see a map victory here. Let's see a competitive Prime, because when we've had 4 championship victories by Bing Bong so far, it's starting to get a little stale.
10 seconds to go.
Really shocked for Bing Bong that they're not abusing the fact that nobody was roam clearing on the first floor, not bringing out the Valkyrie, not bringing out C4 or any kind of info op to help really just put the hurt on Prime for going direct. Them not opting for that seems like a major missed opportunity, as Prime are going to do the exact same clear, I could imagine. Now they've got Furzy on the Flores, so they're going to get even more destruction down, breaking away at those ADSs, deployable shields, you name it. It's going to be gone in seconds if Furzy can have his way against anyone trying to stop him using those drones. So now you have to rely on something else that isn't just direct confrontations, which the next best thing would have been playing underneath, but that just isn't going to happen. And what led to all those main issues of not having someone playing underneath properly was just Bowie in a 1v2 forced to retake because Prime got away with so much of the top.
Won't be grenades to get rid of this player inside walk-in. It'll have to be the Roteros or maybe just the guns. Ollie tried to peek when it really wasn't his time, and so that's a quick elimination of the player in walk-in. Will really help to promote Prime and make this one go by a hell of a lot quicker. Piffok is already in. There's Mazza on to Slump. 3 members. Can the clutch efforts of Bing Bong come back? Or are we looking at a third map here in this one? Babe's got the DMR see-through smoke. One in the back. Pifok eliminates another. It's left to Yatesy and Ecstasis. The Frost doesn't see it, gets one in the meanwhile, but Yatesy is gonna need to be a miracle maker here. In the 1-on-4, doesn't have the angle. His position, Red Furzy gets it done. And Prime, at the end of this map, are able to pull ahead, shut it down, and we're gonna be going to Cafe after all.
Really shocking to see this comeback by Prime, but a well-deserved one at that, as Bing Bong they really just threw everything out the window, especially strat-wise. They completely fed into what Prime were running. The Glass, there was no Warden, a direct take, there was no one playing vertically, no one looking to flank at all. I mean, just the basics that we commend Bing Bong for having were simply not here on Villa. They just turned the notch all the way down to negatives, if you can get it at that. And that's where they kind of left off here. Hopefully they can keep things up a little more for Cafe. If not, Prime, the first time in forever, will they find a victory against their arch nemesis, so to speak. The main villain of their storyline could finally be defeated this time.
Quite a shocker. Yatesy was really the only one who was able to put up Prime, a Bing Bong level performance. They had 3 players with, 7 or 8 kills on the previous map. Nowhere really near that on this one. Bowie, who had an ace clutch and was really doing a lot of heavy lifting on Oregon, was hard to come by. Had, a couple opportunities to make a clutch play, but just could not keep it under control. And very methodical siege being played by Prime. Had a lot of moments where they were in there at the right timing. Nobody too flashy. Kills pretty well evenly spread.
As long as we can keep that team play and that structure together for Prime, Cafe could be a very melancholy moment for them against Bing Bong, who I have seen play on Cafe forever ago. But if they're gonna repeat what they brought out on Villa and just transition that onto Cafe, again, Prime, I could imagine they will be very willing to punish that once again. You have to have very structured attacks when you're playing on Cafe, because there's a lot of positions someone could be roaming in at any given moment. So you almost see the exact same carbon copy of how you want to attack on Cafe, a top to bottom clear 90% of the time. Sometimes you want to do the polar opposite, but it's not all too frequent. So having that same rigid structure, it's something that has to be done for Bing Bong, or else they're going to be in deep trouble.
Well, we'll have to see how this one does pan out. We have the round differential tied, I guess, so we're going to have to see how things do end up there, if we're going to have a coin flip or something like that occur. And, well, Cafe Dostoevsky, what side are you looking for? What's going to bode well? You want to be on defender if you're Prime here, or what's your take?
I'd probably say so, yeah. 100% I'd want to be on the defense here, just trying to just get that early momentum. I feel like Cafe is still fairly defender-sided because of all the mistakes you can make along preparing for the execute. There's a lot of steps you have to do before you can actually just hit the site, unless you want to get aggressive, like on the top floor bomb site, for example, and like bring a Ying and like a Mara and all that. But it doesn't happen all too frequently compared to like a blitz rush by Blue Bunker in Oregon, which we saw a little while ago today during the NA series. So I could imagine defense is going to be the go-to, especially since that wasn't really I suppose either half on Villa wasn't really that top notch for Bing Bong. Their attacking half wasn't great. They barely scraped away a tertiary, bomb site victory because their mid-round kills were just a little too quick for any trades to happen for Prime. But on their defensive side as well, there wasn't really much to discuss as well, because it was just the same thing over and over again. It just simply didn't work.
Tough spot here, Bing Bong. They really need to be able to get back into their same element as before. Have that dog in them. Understand that you're the top team here, that you're the one who's got all the trophies, all the go for it wins, all this and that. And understand that, getting onto Cafe, you just got to be in the mindset that you're better than your opponent and that you're going to win every single gunfight that you get in. It was a little bit more passive, I think, from the defense in some moments. And in all the wrong moments is when they really were getting aggressive and they were losing those fights. Fortunately, that's what cost them. So understanding how the checks and balances are going to work there will be so crucial. FA can be a tough map, and I don't know how it's going to play out here, but this could be anyone's game.
Want to see what the bans are going to be like as well for operators. Thatcher has been a staple so far today in this best of 3, so I can imagine he'll be removed once again. But are we going to see something a little more targeted again? Are we going to have the Doga be banned for a second time? I mean, Bowie in particular, it didn't seem like he was two-faced. He was still finding a couple of entry kills here and there, but just the general kill disparity for all of Bing Bong, I think that was the bigger issue, not just a matter of individuality, or however you pronounce it. A lot of individualism. That's probably the best way to put it there, instead of trying to go for fancy schmancy words. But I think everyone gets the point here. It was a whole team effort by Prime, like you had mentioned, and that was the main thing that got them to triumph on Villa over Bing Bong. And Bing Bong now realizing that their opponents are not, I keep saying this quote, but stooping to their level. I mean, it's true. It's the fact of the matter that because Bing Bong cannot play in their element, they are not winning as many rounds. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and Prime so far have just really been cooking on a front burner today, have had everything dialed in. They've had Furzy in some moments really being kind of a hero factor. Mazza has had a lot of really nasty cuts where he's just able to get in there and uproot things. So we're still working on getting the coin flip done, but with Cafe on the horizon, things are going to be interesting. I think maybe Bing Bong just needed a breather. Maybe they were a little bit hot under the collar coming out of that last map with it being, overtime required. And so this break will help them a little bit kind of get back into the right headspace.
That could be it. And just giving you more time to talk with your teammates as well, figure out, what we did wrong on Villa and go in brand new slate, basically a best of 1 series. You want to put it like that. When you have Bing Bong in a best of 1, they always look pretty solid on paper. So maybe they can kind of keep that same mentality going in a Cafe. I will admit though, I've talked about the playstyle of Bing Bong not really doing too well against Prime since they've gone into overtime in map number 1, which they narrowly were able to win, and then map 2 where they lost. You do get a lot of opportunities to just randomly flank up a staircase and kill somebody on Cafe. It's a really big map, and accounting for everything on the attack is a demanding task. So, albeit with a grain of salt, it hasn't worked out for Bing Bong most of the time. This would be a map, especially if there is no Nomad, for example, or any kind of major flank watch, where those kind of plays could actually work.
I think one thing that Prime will definitely have to worry about here, as far as if they choose to go on the defense first, if you look back to Oregon, Bing Bong were really efficient and dialed in as far as the droning. They did not make a lot of mistakes, and especially in console, this is something I've seen for a long time. Cafe is just a hard map for some people because it's so big. You start off on the roof. It already takes forever to get up there. And some people, it's just like, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. I don't want to go down the hatch. I want to just stay up here the whole time and waste time. And then all of a sudden, you got not enough time left, especially on an extension or a roam clear. You need to be efficient, effective, and you have to have preset drones. You need to be able to just get in there and be free-flowing because timing on Cafe is everything.
Definitely brings up the idea of seeing a Solus again. I know it was hinted, if not brought out a couple of times by Bing Bong, so maybe having that reintroduced could be a good idea. I'm also shocked we didn't see Solus at all on Villa, because we had at least 1 or 2 people trying to roam a little bit, but when you're on like an Aruni or a Frost roaming, you don't really do much. Like, sure, as like Frost, you can make a couple of vertical holes if you have a secondary shotgun, but that's the extent it goes when you're trying to go down that rabbit hole. So having someone who can actively calm and be like, hey, there's someone droning in from here, they're probably going to do this kind of take or that clear, get ready for this and set up like that, that's going to be much better to have on the board compared to just Bowie, doing I don't know what with the DMR downstairs.
So I don't know. So this one could be on both sides. It could be Maybe the Solus needs to just be something we see every single round the whole time to
Maybe.
stop the drones, make the attackers kind of come to a halt and reset. Because especially, I don't feel like Prime have really shown us the full potential of their coordination. We need to see, every round they've got to have the cutoff drones. They need to do not only shut down the aggressiveness, but also establish the vert, have the fundamentals. Because so far in some of these matches, we've seen them kind of skip steps. And in previous series, that's caused them problems. If Bing Bong are made to play structured and made to play, kind of hiding down in the bomb site, if you will, that could be kind of the breeding ground here for how Prime are able to set the stage for their first tournament victory here in the PlayStation system.
Well, it seems like we are still having the coin flip await. Hopefully, again, for Bing Bong, we talked about individualism. Really stressing the point that it's something that can work a little bit better on Cafe, but I feel like Prime are willing to still just continue to have a chokehold on Bing Bong if they want to continue to go for that. Not just with, Hail Mary flanks, for example, but let's say there are a plethora of roamers that aren't setting up for vertical. That's been a huge issue I've seen with several teams here for today's matches, that you're roaming and you're only doing it just to deal with a direct horizontal threat. You're not taking advantage of not having someone push you from that top floor and then using vertical to then guard over the bomb site or some other significant point of the map. No one has really utilized that roam position to get any kind of vertical down. So a good example of that is if you're going to go for a bakery direct attack and you're not clearing out those roamers because of it, someone can get vertical on you watching over the prep room, for example. If we don't see something like that and you get a random call of like, all right, guys, let's just bring out the blitz and just rush bakery, then you're gonna get stopped. And that's something Prime has been willing to bring out. Back on Oregon, for example, it happened. They tried bringing out a couple of Ying rushes too here and there. So in reality, again, there's good potential to just simply adapt and do better composition-wise, just having the better tools for the job.
Well, we have the coin flip results, and I'm going to imagine it was Bing Bong who won because they chose to defend inside of regulation, and so it'll be Bing Bong to start us off here defensively, and then should we get into an overtime scenario, Prime chose that they would defend first, kind of the expectation here. So Bing Bong getting ready. They've had an opportunity to talk things over. This is where it's time to get onto Cafe, explode, show us that history, show us that discipline here as we get underway with the very final map in the NA Invitational.
All coming down to this once again, by the two teams you would expect for this grand final series. And probably a good boat for Bing Bong that they ended up winning that coin toss. A lot of their attacking rounds just had a lot left to be desired from, like we talked about, especially for Villa. So getting to just kind of do their own thing on defense is going to be great. I think that just goes without saying. We'll take a look at the operator bans finally now with Bing Bong starting out on that defensive half, them getting the first ban for the attack. And it's an ace. Not entirely shocked about that, but that might leave Thatcher open if Prime want a target ban as well.
We do, of course, know Bing Bong for their habit of banning the ace. It's usually joined by a Thunderbird when they do remove that particular attacking operator. The Dokkaebi is also taken out there, as we had come to expect after she was sort of target banned in the previous map. Okay, well, if one wasn't good enough, let's get rid of the second PMR there as well. There's Aruni taken off the board. The Dokkaebi, I could see an argument, removing her for the utility. Aruni, probably not so much. And so there will be the Thunderbird taken out of the occasion. Bing Bong getting ready to see if they can achieve their 5th championship title and gain $1,000 along the way.
Not really surprised that Prime doubled down with removing the DMRs, and now Bowie might be thinking of a different weapon he'll want to have brought for the defensive half. Prime looking to once again bring out that patented Flores, this time being wielded by Babe. A little bit of verticality can be thrown into the mix as well. For the top floor, we might see a bottom to top clear instead if they have Jariel on the buck. But the only thing that might stray me away from thinking so is the fact there aren't any other operators that could open up the hatches unless Nomad brings breaching charges, or if they just switch out some of their attacking lineup for something a little different. But with no main hard breacher, it really does scream to me that they want to go for maybe a bottom to top clear, which I'm a little shocked that we're actually going to be seeing potentially.
Well, it's certainly the right kind of idea to go forward. That must have been intentional, right?
Maybe to break all the wooden panels on that bar top so you can deny a plant by Trico? Maybe.
Right, because you don't have any other way to easily destroy that. You could try doing it with the TCSG, but probably run out of ammo and be frustrated by the time that you do it. It's the slugs, they're not real helpful. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it was unintentional, because I don't see why else you would have shot that unless you just hit the wrong button, maybe.
Well, guess we'll never know, but I think we're 90% sure it was just to get that little bar top opened up. Habana now on the board along with a Thatcher, so that initial concept of going for a bottom to top clear definitely seems a little more foreign now for Prime, but they're not completely forgetting about the emphasis on wanting to clear out over by Cocktail side. They still have Babe on the window repel. Furzy's beginning to rotate. Maybe he'll get on the roof perhaps. And they also have, I believe, someone on top, that being Maza, maybe just getting some air jabs deployed for the late round, or just waiting for a call to be made to see where he needs to be deployed to burn through some utility. But with no magnets or ADSs, the stuns aren't going to do all that much in terms of burning through util. They'll be used probably just for players and executes, and there are several stuns.
Yeah, I mean, you really got about as much as you could ask for here. Furzy wants to bring the Claymores. Extasis tried a C4, really, to get this one going early. Wanted to use that to his utmost advantage and get something started here. Help Bing Bong find the right energy to come back into this game. They've got the hard breaching efforts here. It's going to be pretty direct, but I always mention, of course, the timing elements that you got to face here. A bandit trick, how unusual. Wow. That is really doing the utmost to stop this. There could be an angle here. I don't think he sees the Habana. He might click, though. Ecstasis. No, I don't think he's going to be able to get it in the end. Now this one does end up here. There's a Rotero drone coming forward. Ecstasis, good idea to hit the pre-fire, and he will get away. 1:10, wall open towards red. However, I'm not sure the opening is going to be traversable, and that could be your biggest problem.
The serious fact of the matter that Prime have taken so long just to hop in a cigar shop now, I think that's the bigger issue. They've got Vulcan packs, C4s to worry about, and these small extensions that XC was holding. He finally gets refragged, but he still found a kill on Maza. That's so massive. And there's still a defender over by top white, so they can easily guard this, but what an angle by Bowie. He just fries Furzy and Slump across the map, connects the kill too, but Prime are not giving up just yet.
Never a team to leave things out on the table. Bowie able to pick up another headshot kill with that TCSG. Ollie brought down, and Bowie another one. Going absolutely ham with the slug shotty. Bing Bong come into this map, and they already set the stage. Aggressiveness, forcing Prime back. The first is theirs.
It is so surprising that with 1:40 on the timer, you still have the Habana getting the ticket wall opened up, and no one's on that window repel either, allowing Ecstasy to waste even more time bandit tricking the double wall. That was so odd. It's almost like Prime didn't want to immediately go for that play, and then they just figured last second, all right, well, we're not finding any kills by Cocktail. Let's just hope that we can rotate over by Piano and maybe get a bit of damage done over by that direction. But again, with no one really setting up for that in a genuine way, it allows Bing Bong to get hyper aggressive, which is the place they always want to be in. They get the opening gunfight, and more specifically, they just figure out that they only have to worry about Piano leading into maybe that freezer rotate, and then Cigar Shop. There was no one by White Stairs. There was no one on the skylight. It was just those two locations, and that was it.
Located by attackers.
Basement defense look here. Another big test here for Bing Bong. Really show us that they're back in the driver's seat definitively. Azza, Babe, Jarl, none of them able to get any openers And I think they were just pressured into a situation where there was just too little time to comfortably operate in the previous round.
5 seconds.
Bowie, after having a bit of a stinker there on the previous map, really already coming to light. I think maybe, coming close to matching his performance on the Villa game. Prime are going to have to face a hungry opponent here. We kick off the kitchen defensive look. Bit of an extension. Could be somebody trying to peek from the dining window.
Just waiting to see if anyone begins to push out and maybe allows to be caught on the hook, line, and sinker here by Pifok, but so far nothing to speak of. Seems like Prime, they're going to want to start by getting maybe that garage wall opened up, having something prepared for a VIP execute later in the round, but also accounting for the fact that roaming is pretty frequent when defending double kitchen. So getting someone above like the Buck to open up those hatches, get vertical down is going to be fantastic. And even some pocket info being gathered by Mazza, guaranteeing someone's over by Whiskey, which could be a threat later in the round when they want to go back to the basement floor.
A little slow so far, looking to move in horizontally. There's one up near New Drop. Might be kind of protecting the push in through Hell Door. Oh, Mazza thought he had the pre-fire. He gets up via the Adrenal Surge shotgun. That was totally uncalled for by Pifok to try to charge in against him. And it's going to turn one bad kill now into a terrible deficit that you're going to have to recover from. Here's Babe. Is he going to be ready for the Legion? No. Goes for the reload. Ecstasis in the meanwhile puts together a third and a fourth. Bing Bong dialing it up to a whole nother level, and a flawless round as the result.
Wow, loading slugs in that thing for the final kill too. The range on that shotgun, if you really believe in it. Always something you can bring up in a match when you have a mute or smoke in play. And funny enough, it wasn't Devious Ollie who was rocking that combination. It was the new addition to Bing Bong to rock the quadra kill and completely flatline everyone who tried to push in from reception. I'm beyond shocked that we didn't have anyone else try to push in, maybe from, small bake. There was no extension done by the defense in that position. Maybe they were concerned about someone playing over by Whiskey, but when there's no defender in VIP, it doesn't take a lot to just, wait a few more seconds and be like, all right, guys, there's a guy in coat check. Let's get more than one person over here. Maybe get some vertical down. You can get vertical on the coat check player and then deal with them. But jumping the gun and just allowing 1-for-1 gunfights to go down like that when the mute has complete force against you there, just the wrong call. Bing Bong will punish him.
You need to have that discipline under control in a game like this. Just, seeing where you're at and trying to make the right decision. It can be difficult, but you let this one get out of control here, and Bing Bong are just going to kind of make you roll over. Already 2 rounds put in the tank defensively here. It was the attacking rounds that were really the most difficult, though, for Bing Bong, who had plenty of errors to be found back in the film of Villa. It'll be the last round of the first half. Of course, ranked rule. Bing Bong can get this one. You almost feel like they're going to be pretty much invincible going into the rest of the game with the form that they're in right now and the success that their big players, Bowie and Ecstasis, are having.
Really had our doubts to see how well Bing Bong could perform without Cheese Pie. And albeit they did lose a map to Prime, it's not the first time this has happened. I believe back when things were still a best-of-5 format in the Open Series, we had Prime get a map against, it was called Glue 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 at the time, but it was the same roster as Bing Bong. We had them actually win back in Consulate, so it's not a completely unknown entity for Bing Bong to lose at least a map, but a series, that is uncharted water, at least for Bing Bong. Prime now, looking to hopefully win this tertiary bomb site pick. They're still taking their sweet time on this top floor, despite Bing Bong not really roaming a whole lot. They are very concerned with someone maybe holding down some vertical angles supposedly, but eventually with the Finka giving the final rally call, they figure piano's clear and now they can push a little bit deeper into this top floor.
Castle barricade destroyed. Pressure against the extension here. Jarl has gotten himself into back of freeze. No shortage of information against what's present here on the top floor. 3 members. It's going to be, it looks like flashes sent underneath the doorway Piflock will shoot the door open with the Gon 6, and he gets met with a face full of lead, courtesy of Yatesy Boy. Slump has won a C4, perfectly timed. Slump and Jarl will trade, and it leaves it to Mazza. Having difficulty, gets the confirmation against Yatesy, but they're all closing in just like they always do. One pushing up red. They have the information, but he's not looking to the right angle. Nearly gets it on the flick over. But Ecstasis with another monumental pick. Bing Bong well on their way to adding more hardware to that trophy cabinet.
And not having anyone go cocktail window repel, just everyone on top of the castle barricade. They were just asking for it at that point. I mean, they were all up against a crossfire of incredibly strong guns. The P90, I think it was, I don't even recall what else was up there. Maybe the Vector perhaps too. You've got the C4s deployed with info. Bing Bong, again, they are all prepared for this main avenue of approach, and that is all you are feeding them right now. They're going to win that. No questions asked. What Prime being so limited on their attacks, they lose it 0-3, and now they are luckily in the driver's seat of the defense. But Bing Bong, they just need one round, and they are already brewing up some interesting ideas here. Bowie is now in the Montaigne. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. You remove the DMR, you get the shield. I think that's the metaphor you'd want to use for this.
That is exactly the metaphor that would be dialed up here. Kitchen going down to the very first floor on the ground level here for Cafe. Bing Bong just need one more, and they will close up tonight's festivities. Prime have played a solid game in tournament so far, but right now it's feeling like they're a little bit sapped. They're not giving up though, still trying different things. Sort of a little dialed up pocket strat here with the Tachanka and the castle combination. Plenty of denial. But Bing Bong, what they really need to do is get the vert, get up above. Although maybe you could pay some considerations to a freezer minimal take. The only problem then is going to be the Tachanka's flames.
Could simply just buy your time, get rid of those Shamika launchers, and then just begin to push forward. I referenced this earlier. You go for a bait direct, but there's no roamer getting vertical above you. If you don't punish that, well, you're going to have a situation like this. Bowie already burning down a Razor Bloom, a couple of Shamika launchers, 4 out of the 14 just deployed where Bowie can still step back, not losing any HP. Just a total waste so far, but at least he's got 10 more.
It always feels like the Tachanka, he can afford to use them. He's got a lot more than Smoke does. This player could be in some real trouble over towards Prep. And there we go. It'll be Ecstasis. He steps in a monster double play, getting rid of Furzy and Babe. The shield up here. You can get in mobile cover, low HP. But there's Devious Ollie against Mazza. The Tachanka, your denial is gone. Piflock stands tall, but he's the only one left standing now. 1 versus 4, and Ecstasis, the new addition, is the last one to get it all done. He arrives and he decimates. Bing Bong, just another victory added to their trophy cabinet as they are your champions here today of the NA Invitational.
And Bowie didn't even accomplish a lot besides just making space and being that visual drone, that active drone and info gatherer for Bing Bong. I almost said Bing Bong, like F-O-N-G. But again, Bing Bong, not only having Bowie get bakery control so early despite the setup by Prep and also the double kitchen wall being opened up, not only did he avoid both of those areas, but he allowed Ecstasy to get in a Prep room and net a double kill because everyone is just so focused on Bowie. He was live bait and the defense fell right for it. And guess what? There was no vertical. There was nobody on the top floor or middle floor, I should specify. Everyone was trying to challenge the Nook and Monty directly, and that was their first mistake and their last mistake for Prime, as once again, they fall short against Bing Bong, and they'll be crowned once again.
9-1 for Ecstasis. Comes onto the server and performs at an extremely high level. Cafe, no questions about it. A solid one in the addition of Bing Bong, and just shocking how consistent they've been. clearly showing you who some of the best players on PlayStation are. This is Bowie, Slump, Devious Ollie, and Yatesy Boy, all getting it done today. And what a fantastic job for them. Of course, recapping what we had earlier in the day, our very first matchup was the Courageous versus Bing Bong, which really did not mince words. That was a 4-0 result there. Even with having occasional disconnects from players, didn't matter. The Courageous kind of got showed up in that one. The other semifinal, Prime versus the Fortnite Jam Jams, was one that looked like it might be a little bit more competitive, but some attacking philosophy errors caused the new team of Fortnite Jam Jams to not do so hot in their appearance.
That Oregon matchup as well, the best of one semifinal, kind of foreshadowed a bit as to what could maybe be a problem for Prime when going back to that map. Bing Bong ended up winning that first map out of 3. Villa, a complete stomp by Prime. They really did put their foot down and try to slow and keep away Bing Bong for as long as they could, but rounding back out to Cafe, that endurance really proved a potent factor for Bing Bong when they went to that decider. And once again, they are going to be your top dogs. Still no one able to put them down and out for the fight just yet, but maybe your team, perhaps, maybe your 5-stack could end up competing to them. All you have to do is just follow the link of compete.playstation.com and your chance for that could maybe reveal itself. And you know what? If you don't like Rainbow Six, that's completely understandable. It's a very niche game. We've got loads of other games, specifically fighter games, Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear, the list goes on. Even Tekken. I grew up on Tekken at one point. I was horrible at that game, but maybe you're not. So you should go and check out that link and maybe get involved a little bit and do better than me. That seems to be setting the bar kind of low for fighter games, but R6, that might be asking a fair bit at least. That might be fair.
I don't know, one day off in the distant future, you might have some new, younger casters on this event. You might see me
Maybe.
and Fellow dialing it up on one of these rosters. That would be an interesting one. Maybe we'll have a
Potentially.
time machine. We'll go back in time and we'll play one of the earlier tournaments. But either way, it was really exciting today. Of course, we want to tell you about our community Discord as well that we've got going for PlayStation tournaments, which is really an awesome place to hang out at. You could join the PlayStation tournaments community Discord to find regular updates on things like esports events, articles, videos, and meet with others to improve your game with. You can meet with me if you go in there. I'm in the PlayStation Tournaments Discord, and we got a special challenge. If you go to the general chat, you can tag me, and I will say hello, and maybe I'll even add you back on Uplay. So thank you all for watching. What an excellent tournament that we had out there today, John. It was such an exciting event to have, and another result for Bing Bong, really making them feel like they are the top dogs. But it does finish our coverage for today, an exciting event of Rainbow Six Siege. But with that being said, we'll see you next time. I've been Sticula, joined here by Fellow from all of us at PlayStation and Waveform, saying so long.
PlayStation